recommendations as a ladder to enhance their political stature among various political parties. This negative thought and action resulted in that the Muslim society, without any qualification, got further divided along the lines of caste. It has started with the promise of bringing financial and educational benefits to the backward Muslim groups as a result of reservation. However, this goal was not achieved till the date. Despite adding Dalit as suffix or prefix to our millat, we could not achieve anything till date. Whenever the demand is made to provide reservation to Muslim Dalits and to make amendments in the Article 341 to abolish the clause of religion, it is opposed on the ground that reservation cannot be given in the name of religion, whether to Muslim Dalits or Christian Dalits. This is a point which those who are doing politics in the name of Muslim Dalits continue to ignore. Quote ends. So here the observations of Hassan Kamal, the veteran Urdu journalist and Bollywood lyricist, regarding the reason behind this attitude of the Urdu journalist towards the benefits of recommendations of Mandal Commission appear to be illuminating. I quote from an interview I conducted with him. I asked the question: is it okay to say that a sort of ignorance among about the implementation of the Mandal Commission recommendations seems to prevail in the Urdu newspapers? He responded, and I quote, "No one except me has written on the topic. In the Urdu religious periodicals, I wrote that all our prophets were OBC, meaning artisans, and it was received well. The Urdu journalists from the Urdu journalists are from Ashraf background, and they are at loss to make sense of Andal Mandal, meaning Mandal Commission recommendations. Influential ulama, news people, Khabari Babu, those who hold positions in Jamaat Islami and other organizations, all are Ashraf, and including the progressives. Based in Patna, the Urdu Daily Sathi maintained its reputation as a newspaper of nationalist Muslims and played important role in platforming their views in Bihar. Abul Ahmed Muhammad Noor, who lived between 1899 to and 1974, a prominent leader of lower caste Muslims social and political body, All India Movement Conference, bought Sathi in 1949 and turned it into a profitable venture. Later, his son Khalid Rashid Sabah, uh, as an editor and proprietor, ran the newspaper till 1990. The social trajectory of Noor, his son Sabah, and their Urdu daily Sathi demonstrates the ways in which habitus influences, in the sense of limiting and enabling both the choices that the social actors make in their everyday life. Thank you. Coming from a humble family of the weavers community, Noor got elected to the Legislative Assembly of Bihar in 1946, sailing against the tide of Muslim League and its two-nation theory. Which eventually led to the partition of India in 1947. As a mass leader, he worked towards abolition of zamindari and feudal prerogatives of Ashraf Muslims and betterment of Pasmanda Muslims. Very popular among the lower caste Muslims, he won successive assembly elections in 1952 and 57 and got nominated to the Bihar Legislative Council for 3 consecutive terms. He was instrumental in establishing Bihar State Handloom Weavers Cooperative Society in 1950 and various welfare schemes for Pasmanda poor students. Lack of economic capital, possession of negative cultural capital due to his lower caste location, and careful ideological positioning as the pro-social justice nationalist Muslim, defined in a positional relationship to the pro-social, pro-two-nation theory separatist Muslim, helped Noor circumvent structural disadvantages of his individual and class habitus. His image as a mass leader of the Pasmanda Muslims was a kind of his capital which he had acquired after investing a lot of hard work and time among the Pasmanda Muslims. The turbulent time leading to the partition of India, the ideological climate marked by the battle between the separatist and nationalist thoughts, the socio-political turmoil that prevailed in the decades after the partition and migration of powerful feudal Ashraf Muslim leaders to Pakistan contributed towards the conditions which rendered successful conversion of this acquired capital into the political power required for his sustained political presence and actualization of many pro-social justice programs for Pasmanda Muslims, his core constituency. Though still a Parvenu, Noor's son Saba was better placed than his father to navigate the media and political fields, already in possession of Okay, so I stop here if we are running short of time. Thank you.
Conclude. Take 1 minute.
That's fine. 5 minutes?
No, no, no.
1 minute. So interestingly, class component of Noor's habitus did not neutralize the structuring effects of his caste location, also a part of his habitus on his views and the choices he made as the editor proprietor of Sathi. This complex working of habitus is evident when he criticizes the Urdu media's response to the caste-based democratization program recommended by the Mandal Commission. I quote from an interview I conducted with him. uh, and I'm quoting him. The Urdu media response was not fitting. Urdu newspapers tried to complicate the issue. They lacked ideological clarity. They kept harking back on that all Muslims are economically backward. In fact, they were secretly trying to hurt us, the lower caste Muslims, by misleading us. Very few newspapers wrote on it confidently and with clarity. Muslim organizations are also not concerned about it. So I followed up with a question, but why do they do so? And he responded, and I quote: "The reason is clear. It is still on the top of on the top of Ashraf's mind that don't let the lower caste Muslims move ahead. Their children should not get education. There is a struggle on every front: politics, jobs, etc." I followed up with another question. So, are you suggesting that the Urdu media is an Ashraf-dominated institution? And he responded, and I quote: "Of course it is. Urdu journalism publishes voice of the white-collar Muslims. The white-collar Muslims don't discuss problems of Pasmanda Muslims, and if they discuss them, then to argue that platforming these issues, the Pasmanda Muslims are creating disharmony among Muslims. It is unfortunate that we the lower caste Muslims don't have newspapers of our own." Quote ends. Sabas is a marginalized voice in the Urdu news and the national field of power in India. I, I end my presentation. Thank you. Thanks.
Presentations shows that how even when we say voicing the concerns and how it is implementing the concerns of the society, for the community, in fact, of the anymore. So, friends, I invite Dr. Chandra to give a presentation. When you have 10 minutes, please, just stick to your back. Take a presentation from your camera, and with it, we also welcome Azim Sahab, he's here, and Azim Prakash, he's joined and welcome.
ये कैसे वहाँ पे कैसे जाएगा ना वो भी देखिए कहाँ से करना है नेक्स्ट स्लाइड
Very interesting.
So that problem was stable. So I was get 50. Yeah. Okay, it's fine.
More than the because it's we get like that is why it's like that. Get that right. We're gonna just something that we didn't work for. But thinking that chair also has to manage to
क्या हो गया ओपन नहीं हो रहा क्या इसको बड़ा कर दीजिए और इसको इधर कैसे करना है आगे ओके
सही
so respected chair professor yes this
Yeah, friends, just I say a few words. Professor Asim Prakash, Professor of Public Policy from TIS, he has now joined us. Thank you, sir. We welcome you for this session.
okay. Thank you Sahid okay respected chair Professor Anwinder Ansari ma'am panelists, adorable colleagues, and August gathering. Very good morning to all of you. It's always been a pleasure to join you all, but this time I am aggrieved and saddened as you all know that we have gathered here to commemorate beloved Professor Imtiaz sir. And Imtiaz sir was my mentor. He is just like father figure for me, and he taught me how field work must be carried out and the techniques which I successfully used in my later professional research. research work I taught from sir only. So I'm going to start my presentation. Actually, the topic of my presentation is the work-life balance of paramedical staff, Muslim women paramedical staff. It is a primary database presentation and a study of a government healthcare system of Aligarh city, 3 hospitals study. So, when we are going to think about the paramedical personnel, we all know that the technicians, laboratory persons, technographs, and the therapists, nutritionists, and nurses all are having this particular domain. The paramedical personnel, and WHO has given the definition, and according to the WHO, the graduates of 2 years to 5 years health courses in recognized health training institutions are called paramedical staff. And when we are talking about the work-life balance, it is very, very important topic when we are discussing about the women and especially the women of Muslim community, because we all know that the Muslim women are facing a lot of problems when they are going out for work. So, if theoretically we see that the term work-life balance was formally coined for the first time in the 1970s to state the balance between one's work and personal life. In the 1980s, many companies started to offer childcare programs and employee assistant program. In 1990s was a major era during which the work-life balance program had a better identification as a vital topic for women, because work-life women is important for everyone, but when it comes in the domain of women, or it is related with the women, it is having more important. So the first gesture of these programs started primarily to support women and children through work-life solutions. Vast research in this decade viewed that job preferences are based on their work-life issues. So many acts are there. I'm not going to discuss these acts, ILOs and the United States Occupational Health Safety Act, and so many acts are there. Now I'm coming towards the perspective, Marxist and socialist perspective, which is very, very much important when we are discussing about the work-life balance of women. It is quite difficult to distinguish between these two schools of feminist thought. On the one hand, classical Marxist feminists are influenced by the concepts laid down by the Marx, Engels, Lenin, and other 19th century thinkers, and believe classism to be the root cause of women's oppression. वर्क नहीं कर रहा आपका Okay. On the other hand, socialist feminists don't necessarily agree that classism is worse than sexism, and blame capitalism and patriarchy to be equally responsible for women's oppression. Evelyn Reed, who exemplifies Marxist feminism, iterated the view that women oppressions because of being a woman is the worst kind of oppression that they suffer. Now I'm coming to the primary data, because the when we are talking about the work-life balance in the paramedical staff, it is really we are thinking about some aspects, that the disrespect and abuse of women paramedical staff at workplace, pressure of family and society, cultural and religious expectations. To present this study, actually this study is a part of a larger study and data was analyzed within following objectives to identify work-life balance challenges specific to Muslim women paramedical staff in government healthcare system, to examine the socio-economic and cultural factors influencing the work-life balance of Muslim women paramedical staff, to explore coping mechanism utilized by Muslim women paramedical staff to manage work-life balance. Now I am coming to the graph. This is the demographic data which we have collected from the different hospitals. And the first thing, we all know that the age is very, very much important part. And the another thing is the marital status of women, because it is also very important when we are discussing about the work-life balance. Qualification of paramedical staff, they are falling in that particular domain of paramedical staff or not. Income of paramedical staff, because economic conditions or economy is directly related with the work-life balance. Designation of paramedical staff, because they are having different kinds of you can say the in different time or different ages they are in different kind of designations. That's just like professional nursing and the radiographs, ECG technicians, different kind of designations they all are having, and different kinds of challenges they are having in their work domain. Nature of employment of paramedical staff, they are temporary or permanent, because if they are temporary, they are facing more problems in comparison to the permanent. Work experience of paramedical staff, if they are up to 5 years, they are having another kind of challenges. 6 to 10 years, they are having another kind of challenges, because if they are senior, so they are having different kind of duties in their workplace. Religion wise distribution, I have also taken different religions also, but the maximum Muslims. Paramedical staff balance their work and family life in the hospitals. This is the data where only very few women are saying that they are strongly agree that they are not having any issue in the balancing of work-life balance. Some are agree, but if we are comparing in religion, the Hindu women are strongly agree. The percentage of Hindu women are more in comparison to the Muslim women. Neutral, the neutral is Muslim women are high, but disagree Muslim women are high, and the strongly disagree Muslim women are high. That means the problem, if somewhere it is related with the religion itself. Level of concentration, because when we are talking about the work-life balance and of paramedical staff, so paramedical staff is working day and night, and ILO also has given the definition of the night shift from 9 to 5. And if they are doing work in the night, so the level of concentration is also very, very much important part. So in this slide, you can see the different, this is the data of different hospitals, and they are having low kind of concentration. Very few are having the high concentration, average or low. Sleep pattern of paramedical staff. Some are saying, I don't know, but the thing is that the sound sleep after night work, it is quite difficult in the life of the women, and the sleep is very, very much important part of every person's life, including women. And the slide clearly shows that they are saying they are having not a good sleep in their life. Mental health of paramedical staff, when they are working day and night, they are having some kinds of mental problems, anxiety, depression, and some other problems also they are having. Or I have also asked the question that the authority, what is the role of the authorities in the particular domain of the hospitals? Are they encouraged paramedical staff to balance work life, or they are not encouraging? Some are agree, but some are also strongly disagree. And now we are coming to the narratives of different paramedical yes, I have divided narratives in the socio-cultural aspect, health issues, workplace challenges, and coping mechanisms of the women. Yes, here I want to ask some questions that why we are talking about work-life balance in the 21st century when we see women are getting empowered and able to make their own decisions. And my another question is there any role of religion? If yes, what extent in work-life balance, or it is only a social, or you can say the societal issue? So in these slides, I have clearly uh, discussed about the work life balance. Now again I am discussing about the little bit about the Marxist perspective here also, that they felt Marx felt that the economic independence will bring a lot of changes for women, but unfortunately, rather than finding high wage work, women found less valued work in the workplace, which was exhausting for them. Women found themselves to be doubly oppressed by working outside as well as doing all the domestic work at home. Hence, society and sociologists or the feminist perspective came up with the two system operation, which marked both capitalism and patriarchy as responsible for women's oppression. Important feminist, just you can say that the Juliet Michel, Alison Jagger, Sylvia Welby, they all took up gender pay issues and reproductive health issues, and they also found ways to engage the state to move towards the feminist jurisprudence. So finally, I will conclude because the slip is here. I am having some case studies. Only one I am going to little bit I am going to describe in the words of the respondent. She says her routine duty is also very demanding, and as the hospital is understaffed, she has to attend to an extra number of patients with little time to spare for rest. She also has to deal with unruly, rude patients and their attendants. The unhygienic conditions of the hospital is also taking its toll on her health. With one day a week break, she barely manages to keep work life balance. The night shifts make her life more miserable as she has to attend house chores and look after the family members. She seldom gets proper sleep, though her family asks her to leave the job for her health. Sake, she is continuing with the present work in the hope that one day she will be made permanent and getting government benefits and things will change for good. They all are having some kind of hope, but the thing is that the in the work life balance, when we are discussing the work life balance, every woman is facing the problems in the society. And if you are if you all are aware about the Indra Nui COE of PepsiCo, if you are going to read the or and listen the presentations of the Indranil, she also says that the work-life balance is very, very much important, and not only the workplace is playing the role, the family, the society, and the religion in itself is playing a vital role in the work-life balance of women. Thank you so much.
I think, everything we are contribute to Professor Anne talked about empirical studies with reality, and of course your presentation highlighting how important is the intersectionality of class communities in women's life. With this, we move to another presentation by Dr. Lisa Baker. Please, time starts now. It is 10 minutes.
You want this?
Please.
Stop.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. As you have been said,
seminar convener, respected chair, my fellow panelists. I am so happy to be here today speaking on the topic 19th century Bhopal, Nawab Begums and their influence on Indian Muslim society. Very interestingly, this aligns with what just, Dr. Shazia has said, that how women have been juggling between creating an identity of their own and still even today when we are in 2024, the challenges remains almost same. When I'm talking about a few strong-headed women of 19th century, Muslim women who took control of every action they wanted in their region and declared themselves as Nawab, and this continued for about a century, for continuous generations of females who ruled Bhopal on local terms. And during their rule, I would like to emphasize on the point that in colonial period as well, they were able to negotiate their power struggle with British. So, and they were strong British allies. And Nawab Sikandar Begum, second in line, she was one of the major reasons who supported British in 1857's mutiny in its suppression. So that strong-headedness, taking call on their own, and following a matrilineal patronage in a strongly patriarchal Indian society was a remarkable thing, I believe, precisely in the 19th century India. I would be very brief. Four female rulers of Nawab, as I've mentioned, and they start with Nawab Qutsia Begum. She was the first female ruler in the series of four, and following is Nawab Sikandar Begum, uh, Shah Jahan Begum, and Sultan Shah Jahan Begum and Sultan Jahan Begum. Now, these are mother-daughter. So, a mother. There was no male heir in the family. So, when Qudsiya Begum, she took the control of the region in her hand. She was barely 18 years old. And then she declared herself that my 2-year-old daughter will be the Nawab of Bhopal. So, that strong-headedness was seen in this woman. During the 17th century, a Mughal commander named Sardar Dost Muhammad Khan established Bhopal as a fiefdom, a quasi-independent region in central India. After the Anglo-Bhopal Treaty in 1818, Bhopal became a princely region in the colonial India. And since its establishment, Bhopal has witnessed politically powerful and able Muslim women as administrators, and their rule continued from about 1819 till 1926. And in 1926, the son of Sultan Nawab Sultan Jahan Begum, he was the fifth in line who was given the responsibility, and the lineage continues till today when we know them as the Toddies of Bhopal. So this is the same lineage what I'm talking about. Now, I would precisely want to focus on Nawab Sikandar Begum, second in line and daughter of Qudsiya Begum, the first ruler. As an administrator of the state, Sikandar Begum followed the tradition of revolutionizing Bhopal, which was initiated by her mother, Qudsiya Begum. And she was, I quote, considered a patron of arts and culture, I quote. She put all her might into reforming the state from the micro to the macro levels. Her reforms include recognizing the state's army, introducing a modern judicial system to improve administration, launching a postal service, and instituting the production of Bhopal's currency and coins. In addition, she restructured and recognized politics, governance, and education systems, modeling modern advancements. Education was one of the fields of her interest. She realized the importance of education for girls. Therefore, she focused more on girls' literacy. She constructed many schools for girls to facilitate and provide them with a better education in the 19th century. She connected her entire state with the newly constructed roads. She tried her best to maintain communal harmony between Hindus and Muslim communities in her region. She was also the first ruler in India to replace the vernacular Urdu with Persian in her region. She introduced Persian as the official language of Bhopal. Sharia Khan and Sharia Khan, who has written a very interesting book, is actually a grandson of these women, and he writes the most, I quote, the most aggressive, dynamic, and charismatic ruler among all the female rulers of Bhopal was Nawab Sikandar Begum. Nawab Sikandar Begum was also one of the first Indian monarchs, and then a female Nawab who went for Hajj pilgrimage in the 19th century prior to the advent of modern transportation. When she set off for Makkah, prior to going on the pilgrimage, it is a customary ritual to go meet your relatives and dear ones and seek their forgiveness in case you have hurt somebody knowingly or unknowingly. As a strong British ally, when she came in contact with the British counterparts and they requested Mr. and Mrs. students, precisely, they requested her to note down her pilgrimage experiences because, again, Makkah and Medina, being sacred places for Muslims, banned entries of non-Muslim. And this is the 19th century where British were very aggressively trying to expand their colonial region. And probably with the help of their own very strong Indian woman ally, who very well, very impressively was influenced by British. They requested her to note down her experiences, and thereby we have our first travelogue written on Hajj pilgrimage of Nawab Sikandar Begum in the 19th century. She wrote it in Urdu and later it was translated into English. But unfortunately, the Urdu script was never published and it was probably somewhere saved in Royal Archives in Bhopal, and from where it was collected for translation into English. Even when we read her travelogue to Makkah, a basic expectation from a Hajj pilgrimage or any pilgrimage travelogue is you talk about how deeply you are under the influence when you see Kaaba, or how are you feeling as a pilgrim, or what are your emotions when you set your feet in pious or sacred cities of Makkah and Medina. But on the other hand, when you read her pilgrimage travel account, she very interestingly talks about how pilgrims were treated in Makkah and Medina cities, and she says that the treatment given to these pilgrims were not human. In fact, she cites certain quotations where she says how in market when a few pilgrims would go, precisely underprivileged or poor pilgrims, and how she would be very badly mistreated by shopkeepers. In fact, when she landed in Makkah, she had an entourage of about 1,000 people and a huge compilation of gifts that she brought along. And she went there with her mother. So when she was landed, she had to face a certain customary challenges on the fort, and she very aggressively wrote about that. And because Middle East wasn't in 19th century very acquainted with having a woman, Nawab, treating her like a Nawab because she wanted that treatment to be given to her, it was very unlikely, but she asked for it and she ensured that during all the challenges that she had faced in acquiring her huge baggage that she took along, she get all of it. She reached out to Sultan. In fact, the Pasha and Sharifs of Jeddah and Makkah, they were very critical of and apprehensive of her. And in her pilgrimage account, again, she says the Sultan of Makkah is not as good an administrator as he is supposed to be. A very strong remark that she makes. Also, when she goes to Zanana, as a woman, when she was given an entry to Zanana in Sharif and Sultan's Zananas, she compares those wives or sisters of Sharif or Sultan with the Georgian British women she has encountered or seen so far in India as a British ally. So, very interesting observation that you won't see that Zanana is like this or that, but instead you are comparing it with with your British ally. And similarly, on many occasions, when she comes across a windmill or when she comes across certain rituals, or for example, horse riding, and she very vividly reminds or recalls her experiences with British in India. So yeah, I 2 minutes. Ma'am, just conclude it. So, her travelogue, A Pilgrimage to Makkah, is a very interesting travelogue. If somebody is interested in taking a look at it as a political writer, that could be a great help. And similarly, her daughter and her granddaughter, they were also equally revolutionary in their nature. They never took veiling, and they played their role as administrator equally to male administrator, and they control everybody and they made sure that they are being heard, and what they said is being considered and respected in equivalence of any male rule. Uh, so I would conclude simply by saying, so there were the intriguing century-long rule where Bhopal witnessed strong-headed female Nawabs and their distinct style of administrative or of administration, their works and their writings, which was a revolutionary matrilineal lineage in the primarily patriarchal Indian society of the 19th century, is a very interesting read. Thank you so much for listening, and I would love any questions to be asked.
Thank you, Reza. One, first for keeping your time. And very, very interesting presentation. And while she was making this presentation, I was wondering why these case studies are missing from the curricula. Why don't we teach that as a part of women's studies when we talk about women empowerment? I think it's very important because personal is political. And this is what is the feminist epistemology, which talks about this stand positionality. And I mean, that's why I think the diversity of the community, the diversity of experiences is very important because the picture which is projected about Muslim women is of Bangladesh. And here we have another presentation which talks about this other reality. So with this, I request Professor Asim Prasad to continue. So it's the last presentation of this plenary too. And after that, we open the house for discussion.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Zia Bhai, Shansari, and co-panelists and all friends. It's difficult to come at the end and with such fascinating presentations. I hope I'm able to hold your attention for the next 10 minutes. What I'm going to talk to you or rather share with you is my insights from to understand the lived realities of Muslims from three research projects which I have done. One is on Muslim middle class, the second is on the aspirations of the youth, of Muslim youth, and the third is on, for want of better name, autobiographies of restaurants and bakeries in Hyderabad. Of restaurants and bakeries in Hyderabad. So I'll just try to put in I draw some conclusions in the tradition of Professor Ahmed, where he uh, underlined the importance of the lived realities. Uh, if I come from this, I never had the fortune of studying under him, or he had already, he was in the university, but he was at the time for some awkward reasons, some unfortunate reasons, he was not in the center. So I did interact with him, but I can't claim that I was his student or I was. I know of him, but I don't think he will even. If he had been alive, he would recall me also. Uh, but uh, uh, but I had followed his work, and that's where I'm trying to draw the insights from. See, if we see that one of these major thing which all of have spoken from yesterday onwards, that he's a political sociologist of eminence, uh, and he was able to reflect on the social structure where he does not seem to believe that we can study India without understanding Muslims, or for that matter, any other. Coming to Hindu sociology, for instance, if a quote unquote cannot be taken as the uh, template or an understanding for understanding India. So, if broadly, I'm just thinking. Now, what insights we have from here, from the discipline itself, is uh, that there's a blurred line between what we call the formal and the informal. What I mean by that, that if state is a formal structure and it is largely governed by the politics of the day, it's the informal institutions, can be of region, can be of caste, can be of patriarchy, can be of gender, can be of religion, which permeates in the formal structure to impact them. So this is largely the discipline of political sociology informs us. So that's the first insight, and I'll come to my point in why I'm saying this. The second is about the experiences, everyday life experience. In numerous works, Professor Imtiaz Ahmad had pointed out that we have to take into account of everyday life experiences, and that reality is heterogeneous. So this is the second background I want to put. First was the blurred boundaries between the formal and informal institution. The second is the experiences, everyday experiences, which are very heterogeneous in nature. And so, how do we situate in this? So, what the thesis I'm trying to put forward for your consideration is that the lived realities and the social context of a community is at the intersection of state, market, and civil society. This is the thesis which I will elaborate on. That how these three different institutions shape the realities of the three sections which I have just three studies which I have quoted: the middle class, the aspirations of the youth, and the business class, small entrepreneurs. State is, let's start with the state is an institution which is expected to be formally regulated by the rules and the rules of the rationality of the state. This is what we mean by the rationality of the state is the formal rules and the Weberian structure of bureaucracy. Uh, those there's a in my interviews they have surprisingly tendency which uh, seem to have reflect for some very genuine reasons that many of the Muslims youth may not like to work with the state in the state. And when we pushed for the reasons to understand it, it was largely they feel that the bureaucracy has its own social networks through which kind of jobs, kind of postings, kind of uh, uh, everyday informal benefits which you may drop going late to the office, coming early. It can be formal and informal. And they see there is some kind of an understanding that a perception that there is a discriminatory pattern within those formal realms. So, in this sense, they would largely like to be part of the markets, and I'll come to in a bit in our market when I discuss about markets. So, the formality of the formal structure of the states is continuously seen to be impacted and influenced by the informal structures. Second, just keep on. Second, when we think about, let's discuss a bit about the market and then I will come to the second point in a bit. See, market is a network of individuals which offers goods and services. There's nothing is a layperson definition which all of us know about. But markets is what in the operation of the market, what it informs that it is largely about markets are not formal structures at all. Markets exist through social networks. Market exists through kith and kin networks. Markets exist through informal rules. How does it happen in reality? It happens in reality through that, for instance, credit. The credit available in the market, irrespective of the community, is largely an informal credit system. Informal credit is regulated by in a very tight kith and kin network. It's the kith and kin network or the social network also regulates the entry and exit. Who can enter the market and do business? Who can exit the market? It also regulates the labor. If you want labor at a short notice, suddenly, for instance, if I give an instance that if there is a huge party order which comes to a bakery, and there's a small bakery and it immediately needs 30, 40 workers. If you don't have a network, it's impossible to get those workers. It's not that if you pay the price, or the normal new classical economics tells you demand and supply. If there is more demand, supply will the price. If there is more demand, the prices will go up, and you will get whatever you want at the price if you are ready to pay. But the price, the equilibrium as defined by the new labor economics does not operate in labor market. It is largely about the social network, which gives you access to credit, which gives you access to labor, access to, and most importantly, access to state resources. It can be simple for licensing, electricity, water. I'm talking about small business person. My study is not about established big business people. It can be electricity connection, it can be GST, whatever. The state operates through market. So there is a continuous understand. So what happens that the community starts operating within the same social network. So the expansion of the market does not take place. What I'm trying to say that if, for instance, I give you that all of you from Hyderabad, you know that the way the your Karachis and Paradise have expanded. So that is the expansion of the market for a small business person. The expansion of the market does not take place. It operates at the same level with the same community because of various structural constraints put forth in the everyday interaction of the market. Now, the third point I come to is about the civil society. Now, civil society reflects or articulates the large ideological imperatives which are there in the society. See, if I define very simply what is civil society, is a domain, is a space. I'm aware of the various debates which are there in the civil society, but I'm trying to simplify by saying what does, irrespective of the ideological positioning, what civil society means, where individual consciousness is translated into a collective consciousness. That's I respect whatever ideology you come from. While in your writings, nobody will disagree with this particular position. Uh, Now, the values of the civil society gets reflected in the relationships of the state and the markets. The value of the values, the ideology, the beliefs of the civil society gets reflected in the in the institutions of market and the state. So, what I'm trying to put forth for your consideration here is that the lived realities, and I would put a thesis forward to say that there is this very strong perception of an adverse inclusion. I'm not saying the Muslim youth or the Muslim business person are not included in the market. Yes, they are there out there in the market. But there is an adverse inclusion. And that adverse inclusion is at the intersection of state, market, and civil society. It's the three domains which constitute their lived realities, and then they form this and that's where the lived realities are formed. Now, when I say intersection, I have a very interesting point for you to consider. When I say intersection, if you take up three circles, state, market, and civil society, and there's an intersection where these lived realities shape of adverse inclusion, I'm talking about that particular phenomena. So that also means that there are spaces outside that which may not have the similar patterns of adverse inclusion. So the what in my understanding that the more you expand the intersection, the better the lived conditions are. The more it sorry, I'm sorry. The more this intersection gets bigger, the more skewed, acute adverse inclusion is there. The lesser and lesser the intersection becomes, the chances of non-discrimination and more relatively better inclusion is there. Thank you so much.
Yes. I would just like to start. To mention one thing that Professor Ahmed's memory was very sharp. Very sharp, even if you would have met him for once, you still remember because at this stage when we used to meet him, he would tell us page number, paragraph, of so and so forth. So we used to always think that, about his memory. And yes, your presentation is very important, and these were some very important concerns where he would talk about. And this, whenever we used to have this discussion, that very less Muslim children or youth are represented in civil services, he would always say, was the person when I was doing my research in Alfred, he would say that we also need to look at how many Muslim youths apply for that. So he was an insider who would always give us this um, perspective to look things from a very, very different perspective. So, friends, with this, successfully, meeting the timeline, even though we started the session late, coming to an end of Plenary 2. The theme is studying Muslims in Indian society, and we had wonderful 4 papers from diverse perspectives, reflecting upon the diversity, plurality, to understand Muslim society. So I open the house for quick question answer sessions. Yes, yes. Mike, you need mic?
So I think I can.
No, but you should be loud enough so that everyone can.
You can say.
Yeah, that would be good.
Thank you for the wonderful set of papers. I have two questions, one for Dr. Arshad and the other for Dr. Raisa. Dr. Arshad, your presentation was quite insightful in terms of understanding how Muslim discourse is related to Urdu newspapers. So, as you talked about the ownership of Urdu newspapers, can you also tell us more about how, as you said, the ownership of Urdu newspapers are dominated by Ashrafs. So, in this discourse, how it is determined that who gets published, what gets published, and who are the people who are mentioned in these newspapers, and what are the issues that are sort of silenced and issues that are despised, which are though talked about, but what you say in a negative manner. The other question is to Dr. Raisa. Dr. Raisa, thank you for your insightful presentation. It's sort of fascinating understanding of Begums of Bhopal. But I am sort of loss of words in terms of how, when we talk about more than a century of women's rule in Bhopal, what I missed was about specificity of women's rule for more than a century. Your presentation is more what I could find loss of a better word, hagiography of Begums of Bhopal. But what I miss is more critical reflection. Maybe you can tell us more about how Begums of Bhopal were instrumental in sort of administration, and what is different in terms of if you go from gender perspective, if city has been princely state has been ruled by Begums, women rulers for more than a century. I think that would tell us more about something from feminist perspective rather than what you beautifully explored about their contributions in terms of what you call them revolutionary and strong-headed. I would like to get more details on that. Thank you.
We can invite two more questions so that we have to, I'll come to you then. Please.
First question for Dr. Asha. You said that there is a disclaimer sign in Urdu newspaper on the basis of caste. So, and you have taken example of comic consumer Urdu newspaper, but you have not given your suggestion. What should be done? My suggestion is that if the distinction is there, the basis of caste,
We are academic. First, let's analyze the situation we have.
Complete his question.
then
Please.
then according to your argument, lower caste people from my country should boycott the newspaper. This is my suggestion. And one question from Dr. Professor Asim Prakasa. Then, if I am correct, that you said that Muslim youth don't want to work in formal organization. Sir, they don't want it, because they are not getting opportunity. Because in suppose they are starting their own business, yes. Suppose they are working in some company, they have to follow informal, they have to follow regulations, rules everywhere. They have to show one time, they have to stay at least 8 hours. So what's your opinion? Thank you.
Okay, so one, and Priya, you also want to ask?
Sure.
Very pointedly, because we want to finish it in another 2-3 minutes.
Quite a two questions. First, the fact that it said that many of the Muslim youth are not willing to go to the states, like state
If your question is same for this
no,
gentleman,
I mean, the correction of that is that when me as a Muslim youth growing up as a scholar also feels and relates to what you said, not trusting the states in terms of a lot of things. Do you have any time series data to point the difference post and pre 2014? Second, just to have more clarity on the last point you had said, the intersection of three domains, state, market, and civil society, and the lesser the intersection, lesser the discrimination. Could you maybe elaborate on that?
let's come to, then we can.
Sir, like untouchability was there, then Article 17 has come. Workplace discrimination has come. That there is also law. Is there anything in a formal or informal organization where the discrimination based on the religion? Because you work on the policy area, so I think so. I expect so.
डॉक्टर साहब आप मुझे ये बताएं मैं थोड़ी देर आपने जो गोल्डन पास की बात किया गोल्डन पास से आप क्या मुराद है जबकि हम देखते हैं कि पूरे साउथ एशिया लैंडस्केप पे जो आज़ादी से पहले आज़ादी के बाद मुसलमानों की हालत दिन ब दिन मांगी और बढ़ती चली गई तो आप गोल्डन पास किसको कहते हैं जो मुस्लिम रूलर्स और मुस्लिम फ्यूडल्स आप ये बताएं दूसरा मैं रईसा मैडम से मैं थोड़ी सी ये करूंगा डिसएग्री करूंगा आपने जो इस तरह से ग्लोरीफाई किया या बताया आपने उनके बारे में नवाब के बारे में जिस तरह से बहुत सारे नवाब मुझे अगर हम उसको पॉइंट ये पैरामीटर्स बनाए तो रजिया सुल्ताना वुड बी द फर्स्ट लेडी वीमेन एम्पावरमेंट आप कह रहे थे इस तरह साउथ एशिया में अगर हम देखते हैं तो बहुत सारे बांग्लादेश हमारे पास है लगातार मुस्लिम विमेन लीडर रही पाकिस्तान में रही हिंदुस्तान में रही इस सूरत के बावजूद भी जो मुस्लिम विमेन की जो पसमानगी है वो उसमें कोई बेहतरी नहीं दिखती है तो इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं कैसे आप कॉन्टेक्सचुअलाइज करेंगे मुस्लिम एज ए सब्जेक्ट स्कॉलरशिप एज ए प्रैक्टिस एक प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग थैंक यू
Please be one-liner question, okay? So that's it.
तो मुस्लिम जमातों में क़यादत की जो पोजीशन है उस पे अशराफिया तबके का गलबा है आपने से शायद आपने कहा है जमात इस्लामी हिंद के ताल्लुक से ये कहा जाता है कि हाँ उसमें क़यादत की जो पोजीशन होती है उस पे अशराफिया तबके का तलबा होता है, क्या प्रोसीजर है सिलेक्शन का, उसको भी अगर आप सामने रखें सबके सामने तो ज्यादा सिलेक्शन या इलेक्शन दो आ
Last. No, first, yeah,
Two half question. Asim bhai, I just wanted to see कि क्या मुस्लिम जब के कैंपेन की बात कर रहे थे कम्युनिटी इनफॉर्मेलिटी की, सोशल कैपिटल के पर्सपेक्टिव से do you think that Muslim community as a whole has better social capital in terms of mobilizing informal laborers vis-a-vis the other community? और ये कैसे ऑपरेट करता है in the context of factory and then hotel industry discussed about? So if you can reflect, because that will also tell the story of discrimination, the asset they have, and then the kind of growth they would have. Quick half question to Dr. Arshad. That
Question
would
for
be,
this one.
the argument is correct that, the kind of presence of Muslims, they are Ashra in Muslim media, I think. But then, do we also not to reflect upon the why and how come these groups became powerful owners, then they regulate the news content within the as an owner, as an editorial committee, and then so on and so forth. Because just putting one aspect of the group will not be able to illustrate the substantial presence of Urdu media as a whole in the country. Because you were talking about the across the general people from south to north. So overall, अशराफ की मौजूदगी एक इम्पोर्टेंट है कि कैसे उनकी मौजूदगी और कंटेंट जो आ रहे हैं उस पर इन्फ्लुएंस किस तरह के आ रहे हैं. Is it just because of the class, is it class like or activities?
Yeah, last question. Right, you have a discussion about these out.
Hello, ma'am. Thanks for this beautiful presentation. So my question is to Dr. Raisa. That is fascinating to even bring out those experiences of even though they are coming from certain class background in terms of football. My question is how to understand. I think within there are categories like sectional pieces and all. What do you think? How to bring those experiences to empower the Muslim women who are marginalized or from intersections? How to bring that down to different levels of sectional influence of women? How to understand that process from you? And my question is to Professor, since Professor, that's very fascinating. I know I would like to read your papers. I have seen in my own work that how this idea of state and Muslim youth and their aspirations to get job. What I've understood from Hyderabad and surrounding areas, many of the Muslims, even now, the question is the similar as we say. Yes, many of them they are going abroad. But what I found that Muslim youth which are coming from rural areas or lower classes, they're present they are very much in need of state jobs. They are applying and they are trying for. That is what the defense can say. That's as a comment I'm stating. Thank you.
We start with Ashwin. Please be very brief because we are already in.
Okay, so starting with so thanks first for the questions, engaging with my presentation. The question of ownership, who gets published, issues silence, and what gets published. So I have a long paper. Had you allowed me, I would have presented many cases and yeah, and also some biographical details that would have helped you understand the whole the complexity of the issue. Who gets published? So, for example, Ali Anwar was never commissioned by Inqilab to write a column, right? When his book was released in Patna, and it was released by VP Singh, none other than VP Singh, and then there was no reporting of that in Qawmi Tanzim. So, but what you see that in the newspaper when what's her name? That journalist, Rana Ayub. So that Gujarat Files will get coverage, It's important book, but then it gets a lot of coverage. Other book was also important, but it didn't get that coverage, or it got like adverse coverage. When the book was released, when it was translated, and then also there were editorials on the book. So you, I mean, this is just to give you an example. The question of golden past. So, I mean, there is a discourse among Muslims, especially among the Ashraf, and for the lower class, it's a kind of like derivative discourse for them, that we ruled India for 1,000 years and things were really good at that point of time. And there are a lot of hagiographic literature to substantiate that, I mean, that circulates in that circle. So we refer to that as a golden past, and it doesn't mean that I subscribe to that idea, but I have to refer to it to make my point. क़यादत पर अशराफ का कब्जा है, और डेटा बताता है, और कैसे हो रहा है ये सोशल रिप्रोडक्शन का मसला है कि अशराफ कैसे अपने आप को रिप्रोड्यूस करता है। हाँ?
चाय में हम लोग डिस्कस।
हाँ, चाहे अच्छा। और दूसरी बात कि कुछ सॉल्यूशन देना, so I don't work on policy, so please forgive me. I'm an academic. I work on my data. My scope is very limited actually. Ashraf's influence and content, I think I addressed this. So that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Now I'm ready. First of all, thank you very much for asking so many questions. And on a lighter note, that also tells me you are listening to what I'm listening. I would like to connect and three questions in a line, because more or less you talk about, in the same line. Before I try and answer the questions, please allow me, if your apology, the 10 minutes is not a time when I am able to read my entire paper. And what I said, what an ounce or brief abstract was what I was supposed to be talking about at length. Having said that, I'm also very conscious and aware when I initiated my discussion by saying that even in 2024, when we are talking about Muslim women in India or the position in India, we are still in the time of when Simon Beauvoir, she talked about how women are considered second sex, or how Muslim women are still subjects. It's a very totally. Having said that, I do not mean to disrespect our long, rich history of many Muslim leaders arise right from, Islam's or pre-Islam's history, where we have them as leaders, as administrators, as fighters. So I didn't mean to disrespect anybody, but what I said that despite having such a rich history, even today when we talk about women, what we talk about is why are they in parliament? Why are they not doing this? Why are they not doing? So in that context, when I said that I'm going to talk about women of 19th century who ruled a priestly state for about 100 years in absence of a male heir, and how they ensured that in that time also, not only in India, but even when one of them traveled to Arabia, how they ensured that their voices are heard and respected as Allah, irrespective of their gender. And about the details and how would I look at it in the lenses of feminist or gender perspectives, I think it's really a very good idea to discuss over child literature, because everybody is looking at me and I don't want to move back. See, so we can do 1 minute discussion. Okay, 1 minute. Thank you.
180 also.
Yeah.
Quickly, thank you so much. See, when the audience is very insightful and perceptive, it should be very aware of. So, okay, coming back to the state jobs, I am nowhere claiming that youths don't apply for the state job. But if you, from the day the employment data is available, uh, uh, NSS provide the employment data. It's largely Muslim presence is in the markets of various categories. I can have a discussion over it again, whoever wants to. Second is what I'm trying to say is the perception of people who work in the state governments, who work with the state. So they feel that they would be better off in the market. I can quote our life histories of people who are in banks, who are in corporate sectors, who are there, and they would like to switch over to some alternate profession because of the perception which they have. I don't have any data to say whether it was 2014 or 2000, post 2014 or pre 2014, but this is a fact that it pre-post, that's a particular ideological way to put it, but the Sachar committee report, Kundu committee report, all reflect that it, irrespective of the regime, the condition was not, as far as the economic conditions are concerned. Uh, then you have the discriminatory policies. Yes, there's number of discriminatory policies which are applicable, but again, is the perception whether you have access to those policies or not. And there's no policies which is on religion per se, but there are a number of policies which anyone can use for claiming anti-discrimination of adverse condition within the workspace. But is the perception whether it will approach or not. Social capital. See, I personally think that social capital is very romanticizing the whole thing because it does not consider the heterogeneity within a community. The social capital is very hierarchical in nature. It often gets paid, it form in terms of patronage. It can also acquire the shape of patronage. So I may ask a person working with me to be a part of my life without giving the same respect and dignity. So the question which you asked, whether Muslims have more access to the labor market, I would not go by that. Every community has access to the labor market, but it depends on how robust is your social network. And social network largely in the market depends on two conditions. First is your immediate social network, but that's not ever sufficient. Social network which really works in the market is the ability to reach out that network beyond your network and access that, which is not possible in many of the close kith and kin network community. This is what. This insight is not mine, just to rectify. This is Mark Gravenwetter, an economic sociologist from America who discusses race. He points out the strengths of the weak networks. That's the insight is from them. Thank you so much. If I miss something, I will be happy to.
Is there a tea? So much.
Yes, yes.
So friends, patience. And what is very important in this yeah,
Stay for a moment, please.
perception. All we break that into comprehensive Muslim studies in India would be a job which we are looking forward to. I guess that is the objective of this seminar. Thank you very much. Please join us for tea and be back here at 11, sharp 11, because it's already 11:40.
Yes.
Thank you so much, for
Just for a moment, yeah, we will honor our speakers of this session. I request Seeger to bring bouquet and memento. Yeah, Professor Asim Prakash.
Yeah, I was saying something, but
I request I request Professor Arvinder Ansari to present bouquet and memento to Professor Asim Prakash. Yeah. Next for Dr. Arshad Amanullah. Please bring a bouquet and memento. I request Rupia to bring bouquet and memento for Dr. Arshad Amanullah. I request Dr. K.M. Ziauddin to present bouquet and memento to Dr. Arshad Amanullah. Yes. Yeah, next bouquet memento for Shadya. Yeah. I request Professor Arvind Ansari ma'am present bouquet memento to Dr. Shahid Parthi.
Thank you, Sahih. Thank you,
Shahid was the founding faculty member of the Department of Sociology here in MANUU. I really feel glad that you are here. We feel honored to be represent Dr. Shahid. Yeah. Next, I request Mariam to bring bouquet and memento. I request Dr. Kim Siaudi, head department of Sociology, to present bouquet and memento to Dr. Rajita. So,
want to say one yes, so much, Beata and Sahih, Walibali, who are giving the opportunity to share my views in this memorable conference, who is on the commemoration of legend person in Gaza. So thank you so much.
thank you, Sazia. The tea is outside of this auditorium. Those who are would like to have tea, they can go outside and have tea. And we reassemble here again for the next session at 11 sharp. Yeah, 5 minute break. Yeah, and those presenters, paper presenters, who have not registered, they should complete their registration process with the Osama Akram, who is sitting at the back of the back this chairs of this auditorium with white shirt. They, you please register yourself. Those who have not done the registration.
हाँ थोड़ा लगा उसमें नहीं ऐसा कभी कभी लगता है सब किसी से भी लग जाता है जब से वो जब से वो फादर आता है इसलिए हम टर्न हो रहा है आप भी पढ़ी जल्दी पेंटिंग उसके बाद डेटा भी आना थोड़ा जल्दी जाता है
Recording stop.
डॉक्यूमेंट में बात हुई है okay.
पॉज करें क्या
पॉज करिए रिकॉर्डिंग पॉज करिए ठीक है यानी कि शॉक लगा इसके लिए उन्होंने इसको और स्टेट कैमरे में पकड़ तो शॉट लगा नहीं अच्छा पकड़े तो इसको कौन पकड़ बोले इसको पकड़ना था
मैं पकड़ना मैं किधर पकड़ सकते हो इसको पकड़ को मारा चाहिए
जब से वो अप्रोन हो रहा
आपने ये मैं फोटो लेता हूँ मारा
अच्छा तो देखो
मैं खास तौर से बोला हूँ कुछ फोटो लेता हूँ करके इसलिए उसको ये करना है वो इधर देखिए तो उधर का देखूंगा आई थिंक हो गया होगा आपको क्या जी बराबर है ये तो मीडिया वालों का है
उसको दिखाएंगे
देखो ना यार
11 दूसरा उसमें लगाओ, ये पूरा पोर्ट काम नहीं करेगा उस पर। मोबाइल में चेक करो एक बार। एक बार अपना मोबाइल मोबाइल में सीने लगा तो नहीं होगा। स्पीकर कुछ कम है क्या? किताब गए हैं।
Hello, mic testing.
Assalamualaikum. Good morning to this technical session. This is Imtiaz Ahmed. Warm welcome to all of you in this wonderful program and seminar on which is being held in collaboration with Professor Imtiaz Ahmed. So, without further ado, we have 8 presentations over here. The title of this session is Religion, Digitization and Society. So, without any delay, may I request to Dr. Najullah Saab to chair the debate and session. Dr. Najullah Saab is an esteemed academician. He is currently serving as an associate professor and head of the Department of Political and Public Administration at the School of Arts and Social Sciences at Maulana Azad National University. He got his PhD in Political Science from the University of Hyderabad. His scholarly focus encompasses Indian political processes and public policy, with a particular interest in studies on minorities. Sir has a rich history of academic and administrative experiences, including roles such as assistant proctor and assistant controller of exam. His teaching proficiency spans over 16 years at the university level. And he has also contributed to junior college education. He is recognized for his research on the representation of Muslim minorities in local self-government and has published work including Muslim minorities and National Commission for Minorities in India. Dr. Najiullah's dedication to his field is evident through his ongoing academic research and innovative contribution to education resources. We feel honored to have him, sir, here, and we expect that from his valuable insights and deliberation will definitely get benefited to us. So, in this session, Religion, Digitization and Society, we basically talk about these themes. Our first presenter is here, Muhammad Ashar TV. And I think he is here. Ashar, okay. He will be speaking on examining media portrayals and Muslim identity, the impact of Babri Masjid demolition and subsequent development in India. We should bear in mind that everyone is given in equal time, 6+1, I think. Okay, please come.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm very happy to join with you in the special moment. And first of all, I am praising the committee to conducting the one of the best solution we can have in the country from the students to erase the what some stereotypes which happened after the demolition of Babri on the Muslim community. My paper is on examining media portrayals to Muslim identity, the impact of Babri Masjid demolition and subsequent development in India. The media portrayals, it means, as we know, the media is the only tool to transfer our ideas from the one to one. So it means all narrations, all texts which contains the idea. So first of all, I have to provide my references. It will be more beneficial from the presenting my old paper. Related to my paper, I used 7 references
First one is cyber presence of Babri Masjid, history, politics, and difference with online Indian Islam by Rohit Chopra. And second one is memories of Babri, community discourses, and the contesting construction of a media event. Third one is Babri Mosque, the build up to a demolition that shook India. It is a experience of a journalist. When we are discussing about a media publicity, also we have to know how much felt by a journalist when they are reporting that this kind of problematic issue. And the fourth one, Ayodhya, the print media and communalism. And the fifth one, identity series, Muslim erasure, Kominat, July. And last one is Seema Mustafa Azadi's doctor, being a secular Muslim in India, a memoir published by a speaking Tiger Books. So I already mentioned that the reference to, I think it will be beneficial to study more in this topic. So what happened to Muslim identity after the demolition of the Babri Masjid is, as we know, the questioning about his loyalty, the question of citizenship, the question about what ideology he have as a Islam, all things are happening after demolition is very immensely. So violence are accused upon the Muslims and backwardness also. Without the backwardness also they accuse the backwardness of Muslims. And especially I want to give an example for that. Uh, when we are talking about the media, it's happening the manufacturing concern as mentioned by Noam Chomsky. Uh, Manufacturing concern, I think that when we are asking about the partition, who was behind that one, we will be say it is always Muslims, and second answer will be Muhammad Ali Jinnah. But exactly the narrations are we are affected by narrations, and manufacturing concern is happened there, as a Noam Chomsky said. So the narration of about the partition is starting from the narrations of what British. So British idea was the first starting of the partition. That is one of the example we are all, continually accepting what someone people are planned for us. That is I am saying. So the impact of Babri Masjid is on the Muslim community is sense of insecurity, loss of faith in secularism, communal riots, and social stigma, which means negative stereotypes upon the Muslims is happening. Then we are going to the media protests. First one, we have to realize what was the history of uh, Babri Masjid. We are discussing after the whole hearing entered in the court and a determination also came. So we have to accept that one. So problematic historicity of Ram and Ayodhya is one of the subtitle of my paper. I took this one to there is a more fake news about Ayodhya. It's a making a manufacturing concern about the demolition is a silly thing to about the Muslim community, and that true history is what they are talking as a fake news. So, in an article by Prakasam 1992, directly addresses the historicity of Ayodhya, quoting a range of sources and contemporary Indian historians. Prakasim rules out the possibility of Babri Masjid being constructed on the ruins of the temple. He asserts that the notion of Ayodhya as a Rama's birthplace cannot be traced before 18th century, and similarly, that story of the destruction of temple is an invention of the 19th century. And the second one is the article by Noorani 2004 speaks to Shakti historical ground on which the Hindu claimants to the temple predicate their arguments. A timeline of Babri Masjid's crisis on the site begins with following date and corresponding description. From the 5000 to 8 lakh BC, according to Hindu belief, we have to realize that one. Uh, Hindu believes Ram and Aryan Prince, main character of epic poem Ramayana, is born. No ancient accounts associate Rama's birth to modern Ayodhya in India. I think the time is so. Firstly, we have to realize the one point in this discussion about the media protests. Firstly, uh, the mode of argument seeks to counter the claims of the Hindu case for the temple through scientific evidence and a rational argument. That is through strategic, secular, historical reasoning. It is instructive to note here that the traditions of secular and left Indian historiography have generally, if not absolutely, coveraged with the official static narrative of Indian history for much of India's post-independence period. So after the Babri demolition, also we are facing the problematic issue like Ganbabi also. Why it's happening? The policies behind that what we have to realize the textualization. I think I am praising this committee to conducting such a kind of this program to the textualization of the history is the main thing we should have that tool in the history of India. Without that, we can't survive in India. Preservation of the history is the main tool of our community. We have done more things, but it's not preserved as well. But from the government aspects, it's also should do by a government in a secular country. More communities are existing there, so there is a they will be owning something, but the narrative or text-based history is not there. Unbiased history should be existed to erase the communal riots between the communities. So next one is excavating the Babri Masjid dispute. Firstly, commonly, the colonial narrative of Indian history is that ancient India was advanced Hindu civilization that had fallen prey to barbaric Islamic invaders who forcefully established the Muslim rule, destroyed Hindu places of worship, and converted non-Muslims to Islam through the sword. The British, in contrast, were described as liberators who had come to save Hindu India from the devastation brought by Muslim rule. The civilization mission was thus structured as a task of reviving Indian glories, even as it sought to bring India's into modernity. At once, rescue mission and project of enlightenment. It is a type of narrative from the British rulers to make the debate between two communities. They are saying that Islamism came to here to only for Buddhism modernity on the Hindu community. And what is the agenda between that is firstly they are saying it is a rescue mission, and second one is a project of enlightenment. It is not absolutely fake. It is absolutely fake. It's a historical point. It makes a difference between the communities. So and Qureshi 1991 argues that British invented history to divide Hindus and Muslims. They succeeded in creating a debate between the two communities at Ayodhya, which resulted in the Hindu clash over Babri Masjid in 1815. The confirmation of the mosque thus cleared the path for the British occupation of India. Farooq in 1998 questions the narrative of Muslim rule in India presented by British historian Henry Elliott with its many images of Muslim tyranny. Farooq notes went on to produce synthetic Hindu versus Muslim history of India and their Labour's came history. The goal of his history was to legitimize the British policy of dividend. As a conclusion, I already said in the introduction, uh, after the demolition of the Babri Masjid, we, the Muslims, are felt more insecurities and more stereotypes we are facing, and our identity is a questioning. So it is a said by Noam Chomsky, is a happening through the manufacturing consent, and the psychological aspect is what we say social identity theory, and primacy, recency, and consistency theory also. So I am concluding my words. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashar, for his for your wonderful
Discussion after all the presenters are present.
Okay. And next presenter is Muhammad EK, and he will be speaking on consuming the technology, religiosity, revamped or receded. He's a student of Hyderabad Central University. May I request him to come here?
Morning to all. Today I'm going to present the topic Technology and Religiosity, Conversation and Consumption of Kerala Muslim. Basically, this paper can be divided into three parts. One part specifically deals with the general technology and the religion, and the second part will specifically deal with Kerala and its connection to conventional technologies. The third part will specifically deals with the Kerala Muslims and their relation to digital spaces. As we all know, technology is not something that is very universal. It has its own ideological baggages. So based on that, there are many traditions, there are many thoughts that say that religion and technology is antagonist. Their relationship is completely antagonist. One of the main prominent figure who argues based on the antagonism perspective was Manuel Carson, who is one of the most prominent figure in post-industrial society. One of these arguments says that social structure and activities of new society in the information age are organized, shaped, and sustained not by vertical hierarchical systems, organization, or schemas such as religion, but by electronically processed information and communication technologies. Here, he specifically makes the distinction between religion and technologies. But however, there is another tradition that always trying to collaborate or trying to reconcile between the religion and technology. One of the main figure, especially who is working on Muslim societies, is is one Ecclesman and Anderson. They both worked on Muslim society, and they also show that the technological advancement was necessary in order to make religion more performing very well, and through its equipments the intellectual capacities can be highlighted. So they particularly mentioned a term for re-intellectualization. Through the advancement of through the conception of technology, the Muslim societies has faced a new phenomena called reintellectualization, which means that the earlier days, the intellectual properties, intellectual activities was mainly confined. But after the advancement, after the conception of this kind of new technologies, the people are more over being inclined to the more idea of Islam, and also the way the Islamic knowledge has been transmitted, become transferred, become a little bit changed in order to make other people more convinced. So the language becomes more vernacularized. Also, it is more pleasing to other non-intellectual traditions, such as those who are coming from engineer background or those who are coming from non-intellectual background, non-ulama background. They can also easily easily access the intellectual tradition of Islam. So they refer the name re-intellectualization of Islam through the adoption of modern technologies. So coming to uh, Muslim world generally, I'm not taking more examples. I'm taking only two examples in order to show the relationship between technology and Islam. So the concept of bid'ah as profoundly enunciated in religious texts runs strongly in the backdrop of this mode of critical perspective, which means that we all know the concept of bid'ah, innovation, is very much apparent in the discourse of Islamic knowledge protection. So when something new happens, when something new is invented, definitely the ulama, the scholars are compelled to, in order to go through the critical perspective, to whether it is suitable or whether it is not suitable, whether it is acceptable or not acceptable. So the bid'ah concept can also be running behind the conception of technologies. Based on that, given the first time, they also argued that they are mainly concerned with the religious inviolability, or how to preserve, how to make religious more useful. So based on that, they first the printing technology, and I'm taking two examples: printing technology as well as the visual or photography technologies. Based on that, they argue that the arguments against the introduction of printing include that it desacralizes the value of oral tradition in authenticating learning process. And the mass protection of religious texts, notably Quran, might create a situation in which the texts are handled through indecent context and without having due respect. There are many reasons, not go in detail. And when comes to photography, the one important argument that they possess, that Allah is the shaper of form. So when we are taking the photography, it seems it's like it resembles to a shaper. So in Islam, it's a kind of shirk. So it is a grave sin. So there is this kind of argument is also there in order to reject the photography, in order to reject the visual kind of technologies. Anyway, after a long time, even given the prosperity that these kind of technologies are given to for propagation of Islam, for disseminating knowledge, they have also consumed, they have also accommodated the various forms of technologies. So this makes, as I already mentioned, it also created, it gives easy accessibility and proliferation of electronic media, facilitate the constitution of new Muslim public, and enable them to challenge both the state and religious authorities, build civil society, and engage in transnational relationships. As rightly Ackerman and Dyson rightly puts, it creates a new public sphere in the Muslim society who can challenge the traditional way of understanding, and also specifically state way of constraining, state way of authority. So it creates a new Muslim public through the adoption of new digital media as well as new way of technologies. So coming to, I'm just one of the famous or prominent figure who is working on digital cyber spaces is Gary Budd. He has written more than 3 or 4 books regarding the cyber Islamic environment, which he calls cyber Islamic environment. It's a umbrella term in order to connote the Muslim interventions in the cyber world. So he also says that he shows that cyberspace created a group of Islamic scholars imbued sufficiently with digital literacy, whose role and impact surpass the supposed traditional context of Muslim scholars. This is the general framework regarding Muslim societies in general. And coming to Kerala, I'm locating this into Kerala societies. Same as happened elsewhere, there are also debates regarding whether it can be useful or not. So I'm taking 2 examples of accommodation, how the scholars have utilized the prosperity, the prospects of technology in order to propagate their Islamic values, in order to disseminate Islamic knowledge. I'm taking 2 examples. One technology is LCD project, and the another one disk. And Muslim community started recording various Islamic speeches by using video cameras and made them available in floppy disks that could be used in TV. What most intrigued them was the notion that it could bolster Islamic awareness more flexibly. And also, in earlier days, they have to attend the lectures physically, but after the invention, after the accommodation of these kinds of technologies, people can people can easily recollect or store the already gone speeches, and they can utilize at what time they want. But it also creates some problems with regard to social mobilization, because as we all know, when something is streamed, or when something, there is a possibility to store the videos, then probably, more probably, some people wouldn't ready to come and attend the programs physically. So it also raises the concerns about social mobilization. So in order to eliminate that problem, even the scholars himself or the organization himself, they also argues that you have to come and attend the program in order to show your commitment. So the social mobility becomes a tool for showing their commitment. Earlier days, even since there is no possibility of storing, so easily people would come and attend the program. So no questions or no concerns of mobilization has not been there. But now the questions become changed after the accommodation of technologies. And the LCD project, it was mainly used for a form of speech, Islamic speech, which is called in Malayalam Adarsha Prabhashanam, which means doctrinal speech, mainly regarding the ideological speech, in which the speakers, they utilize LCD project in order to convince their believers, and they have also used the video clips in order to show what are the problems, how they can establish their own views, how to refute the positional viewpoints. They have very constructively and also selectively utilized the prospects of technologies. So these are mainly conventional technologies. Also, one point regarding this should be that the educational performance, the improvement that happened in educational sector became one of the prominent catalysts of this kind of accommodation. As even some other parts, even the Eccleston also said that the integrated educational system promoting religious learning and secular education has exposed them to opportunities to utilize the digital world for what they usually refer to as dawa or invitation. So, when they have the integrated education system, they know both aspects, and they also are more occupied, as already I mentioned, of more prosperity that these kinds of technologies demanding. Also, they are utilizing their religious etiquette, and they also transpose that etiquette to this technological world. And the last part deals with the digital conceptions. As we all know, the after the digital conception, we can easily acquire the Islamic knowledge. So the visibility and the accessibility are the major important concept regarding the digital media of Muslim societies in Kerala. So they have even though the visibility does not guarantee the religiosity, but it has impact. It also make simultaneous the challenges and prospect from the perspective of religious authority. Even they can easily get the knowledge. Also, it creates a lot of challenges, because everybody can come and everybody can respond to any issues regarding Islam. So they have to challenge, they have to interpret, they have to engage creatively in order to eradicate that kind of challenges. Okay. Also, the another thing that this technology, this digital spaces create, that Muslim, they can listen and discuss foreign Islamic scholars. Even in Kerala, there is a trend that the people are more inclined to listen to other scholars from other parts of the world in order to boost their religiosity. And also, there is, even in the digital space, they are conducting the many programs, even the Dhikr Majlis, they are conducting through utilizing the digital, especially YouTube channels. And one last point, as even Garriman also shows, that digital nativity is very important, because there is a mention that even the scholars are most of them are telling that you should be very concerned when you are using this kind of social media or any digital spaces. It's a digital netiquette. You are not allowed to comment bad comments, and also when you should be more aware when you forward any messages. You should be more mindful of its choices. So thinking about that kind, we can say in a way the virtual and real life becomes blurred. The boundary between virtual and reality becomes blurred in a way. So as a conclusion, digital conception of technology from in Kerala society can be seen a general response within to how to use the modern projects, modern conceptions. Also, we can say it also enables the Muslim religiosity. Also, it also creates more challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed Ike, for this wonderful presentation. We have definitely two very wonderful presentation. The topic was quite wonderful, and I hope from the audience to hear them with rapt attention so that the discussion later on will be more engaging. So our next presenter is Abdul Salam PP. I think he is here. And he will be speaking on navigating modernity in the faith and practice of contemporary Mapillas through digitized Dargah deities. Thank you. Come here, please.
Hi, good morning all. Thank you for giving the opportunity to present the paper. I would like to present the presentation on the topic navigating the modernity in the faith and practice of contemporary Maplas through digitalized Dargah statues in Malabar, Kerala. In this topic, I am going to focus how digitalization influenced on Dargah practices. If I talk the Dargah and Sufi shrines, Dargah means Sufi shrines culture among the Mapla Muslims in Kerala. We can see so many studies researched by various scholars in various structure. But however, in this study, the impact of digital media in their Dargah practice, and I'm thinking it should be relevant in this time, especially after the COVID pandemic time. In this concept, some question will be arised like how has digitalization of Dargah that is influenced traditional religious practices among the contemporary Muslims, especially India, and also like how has the digitalization of Dargah that is influenced the social and community dynamics among contemporary Muslims. It also going on ethical, moral consideration like that. Actually, this study focus on explore the transformative intersection of tradition and modernity within Mapla Muslim community in Malabar, Kerala, focusing on the evolution of the pilgrimage practices through the digitalization. Um, when we discuss the Maplas, the Mapla used to refer the Muslim community who is living in the Kerala state. Particularly, they have uh, the more linked with the dargahs. The relationship between the Maplai community and dargahs is deeply rooted in Sufism. Historically, we know for decades, various Sufis from various countries they came to Kerala from different countries like Yemen, Egypt, Iran, like that company. They settled in Malabar coast as a purpose of the propagation of Islam. They settled there. They became the leader as a physical and spiritual for this Mapla community. The Mapla Muslim community, they also influenced them. They see the in as a get like a role model in everything, uh, even the spiritual. In every lifestyle they followed. But because in that time there is the colonial issues, they became the leader against the colonial powers. For the British region, they see this Mapla Muslim community like robbers and criminals. Like that's why these spiritual leaders motivated the Maplas to follow the path of wisdom, tolerance, like that. The the Maplas they adopted their Torika means their Sufi order since establishment of this dargah uh, without questioning anything with them. They are practicing the real Islam or not. There is this is become a debatable point in the Muslim community groups who are in the recently who staying, and also there will be various reasons like the healing satisfaction, traditional meditation, and strong belief in medical term we are using the placebo effect. It would be a reason for their adopting the Sufi sense without questioning. In conclusion, the concept of Dargah, cults, convention, and are the integral to religious and cultural practices of this Mapla community. This practice reflects the community's deep-rooted tradition, spiritual beliefs, and cultural identity, make them a unique and important part of Kerala cultural landscape. If I talk about the Dargah culture and literature through the old conventional media as a traditional trend, we see the Sufi hagiographies, songs like Padapat, Malapat, Kissapat, Kabali, like the poems in form of the Maulid, other songs which is praising someone's birth. These all are significant in the history of the Sufi culture in Malabar. The visitors are who is coming these dargahs, they follow they are given the oil rice other food for baraka. They see this all uh, this Sufis like a mediator coming from the god. In recently the involvement of social media and digitalization in the community in every sector, the Muslims also, the Dargah authorized, they also utilize the digitalization according to their proper way. We know the digitalization is Sufi strengths that encompass the several key ideas like digital preservation, ritual pilgrimage, and digital interaction, digital documentation, like that, like digital fundraising and cultural exchange. I will give you some instances which happen in the Muslim community. They are following for these digitalizations. In a if you see that in theoretical aspect of digitalization in Sufi stance, that also encompass exploring the intersection of the technology, culture, and spirituality. Overall, the theoretical this study of digitalization in Sufi stance, they can shed light on the how technology is reshaping the spiritual practices, community dynamics, and cultural heritage preservation in the context of Sufism. When we are coming to this digitalization in dargahs in the Mapla Muslim community, we see the involvement of the digital media, for example, like uh, television channel that exclusively working to project the propagate these certain ideas of human morality, like for example the channel for Darshana TV was established in 2010. They are telecasting some programs of the Sufi strain that are related to like the weekly Maulud and Nerchas who is conducting annual days. Like that program, they are telecasting lively and recorded sections. We can see other YouTube channels who's included in this digitalization like Ziyarat, Hadia Online TV, Ziyarat Blog, KGN Darga, and Fakir Blog. They also these are quite exclusive in this regard. The speakers of this channel travel to this dargah. They record everything what they see and experience what they experience in this Sufi strains. the most of the and also the Darga authority committee, they also use the digital platform for their business purpose and also to expand their ideologies, their ideas among the whole community. This is also debatable point between rational thinkers and the believers who's following this religion. We can see the most of Darga they have website like Google website and pages like Facebook. They also use this propagate their ideas through these pages. We can see the some visitors and also the utilizing their healing practices through the this digital mode. They are using the command in the this online meet. We can see requesting for the prayer offer. They are providing the digital mode payment like for the natures without coming to this darga as a uh, and also the woman also there became more involvement in these practices because they are denied some other dargas to come into inside of this darga. Let me conclude this one. The ritual space reality seems to have at least the darga associate more than anyone, as there's no difficulty to finding the most proper tool and or of promotion for this scale business of various darga deities. The James C. Zappan reveals the concept of digital rhetoric. At once, this exciting and other side is troublesome. It is exciting because it holds the promise of opening new waste of opportunity for rhetorical studies. If it the troublesome, this reveals the uh, difficulties, challenges adopting the rhetorical tradition to condition and constraint of new digital media. As a result, the Darga, the culture, the idea of Darga tradition with all this pride has been restored with the help of its digitalization. The same have been practically impossible in the absence of new mode of the digital promotion. Thank you. Thank you for.
Thank you, Mr. I request all the speakers to be very time specific and conclude his paper on given time. So our next presenters are Syed Mubashir Ali and Muhammad Anas. They will be speaking on from spices to chronic diseases, Malabar food traditions, the Middle Eastern influence, and health outcome in Kerala, Malabar. Okay. PPT share. PPT share. Yes, PPT share.
You share it? Did you share it? Email me. ईमेल क्या है मेरा ईमेल
Yeah. Thank you for joining me today. Myself, Sayyid Mubashir from Kerala. My presentation explores the interplay between Malabar Muslim, Sikh, Middle Eastern, culinary influence, and the rise of chronic disease in Kerala. Kerala, known for its progress in human development, education policies, and literacy effect, facing a growing challenge, disproportionate burden of non-communicable disease, particularly in within Malabar region. The Malabar region of Kerala
constituting the district of Palakkad, Malappuram, Kozhikode, Kannur, and Wayanad and Kasaragod, has a rich variety of food that is this unique. This research investigates the potential connection between the community's unique art influenced cuisine and the rising health concerns. I want to uncover how the adapted dietary practice contributed to the higher rate of diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and even cancer. At the heart of Malabar cuisine lies a treasure trove of spice and local ingredients. The Malabar region is historically renowned as a spice hub, and this legacy is deeply ingrained in culinary tradition. Turmeric, pepper, cardamom, cloves, and cinnamon mingle with the ubiquitous coconut found in both fresh and dried form. Together, they create the foundation for a cuisine marked by bold flavors and comforting aromas. Let's discuss about the Middle Eastern influence in the Malabar region. The centuries of maritime trade between Kerala and the Middle East forged a culinary exchange that forever transformed Malabar cuisine. The region lies between the Arabian Sea in the west and the Western Ghats in the east. Therefore, it is easier for Malabar coast to access the Arab world and vice versa than to the North Indian, since the Western Ghats stand as a bulwark. Arab Christians, drawn to the region by the allurance of the spice trade, introduced new ingredients and cooking techniques. Dishes like biryani, with its fragrant blend of rice, meat, and spice, tries the origin to this cultural exchange. Similarly, the widespread use of ghee reflects the influence of Middle Eastern livestock rearing tradition. The Malabar Muslim community embraced this foreign influence, yet they did not simply replicate them. Instead, they skillfully adapted this element to their own taste and local resources. This hybridization demonstrates how art flavors seamlessly integrated into the existing landscape. Another one of the examples is creation of patri, a rice flour bread. It bridges the gap between Arab fondness for bread and the Carolite love of rice. The 20th century's Gulf boom triggered a wave of Carolites, especially from Malabar, to migrate to Arab countries. Popular Arabic dishes like falafel, majboos, mandi, grilled meats like shawarma, alfam, Arabic kebabs, cheese dog, often paired with various forms of Malabar pastries. As per some report, the recent explosion of 5,000 hubs in post-COVID in Malabar further highlight the deep influence of Arabic cuisine on Malabar region. Now let's discuss into the health outcomes. The introduction of Middle Eastern ingredients had unintended consequences for this region's dietary landscape. Refined flavors, characteristics of many Arabic dishes, and increased consumption of red meat, dairy products have shifted dietary pattern in ways that contributed to the rise of chronic illness. A very low per capita consumption of vegetable, fruits, and less number of working class women in Malabar, high consumption of food and overeating, irregular dietary causes high number of chronic diseases. Far beyond that, the Malabar region climate and genes are not capable to cope up with this food dietary. Hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, stroke, and cancer are the major non-communicable disease in Kerala, especially in Malabar. Studies show that 27% of Kerala adult males are having diabetes compared to 15% at national level. Malabar is the diabetic center of Kerala. 19% of adult female population is diabetic compared to national level. The genetic predisposition, dietary habits, and secondary lifestyle are considered to be the reason of this phenomenon. 14.6% of adult males and 30.5% of adult females are hypertensive compared to 30.7% and 31% at national level. The incidence of obesity,
lipidemia, heart attack, and strokes are very high. The cancer mortality is extremely high in males in Malabar compared to the national average. The cancer management Kerala has the insidious and prevalence of cancers, and the state average is more than the national average. Uh, as per the ICMR reports, around 15,000 people are every year patients of cancer in Kerala. The most of the patients are especially from the Malabar region. And also, the chronic kidney diseases is emerging as a silent yet significant public concern in Malabar region. Notably, 41% of states dialysis center are located in Malabar area. This highlights the severities of the issue. The data speak itself. Globally, the chronic disease account for 41 million deaths each year, equivalent to 71% of all deaths. It's a report from World Health Organization 2021. In India, the non-communicable disease climbs an estimated 42% of lives, but in Malabar, these figures jump to 52%, highlighting a critical public health concern. This underscores the urgent need to understand the contributing factors, which likely include dietary patterns, life choice, and potentially genetic predisposition. I'm going to conclude. The stark reality is that Malabar's love affair with its food tradition might be coming at a high cost. Finding a suitable balance, cherishing the culinary heritage while promoting the healthier practice is crucial. So I conclude. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mubashir, for concluding your paper in specific time. May I request Syed Mubashir Farooqi to present his paper. His title is Faith as Social Capital, Exploring Different Aspects of Community Empowerment for Indian Muslim. He is a doctoral fellow at the Department of Sociology now.
Respected Chair Dr. Syed Najullah, Honorable Head of the Department, Dr. KMZ Abdi, and all the participants. So I'm going to present my paper on titled Faith as Social Capital, Exploring Different Aspects of Community Empowerment of Indian Muslims. It is part of my PhD work. I am working on the same topic under the supervision of Dr. KM Ziauddin. In my paper, I will firstly introduce the concept of social capital, its definition, and its conceptual understanding given by different. Then I will go into the notion of faith as a part or as a component of social capital. And later, as a part of conclusion, I will argue that how this conceptual framework can also be used for Indian Muslims, especially with regard to their empowerment initiatives. The socio-economic condition of Muslim community in India is relatively poor. The fact that they are marginalized and excluded in different aspects of life is revealed not only by academicians and researchers, but also by different commissions set up by the governments, state and central governments. We have a long list from Rangnath Mishra Commission to Sachar Commission to Mahmud Rahman Committee in Maharashtra to Sudhir Commission in Telangana. ये वो सरकारी कमीशंस थे जिन्हें सरकार ने कायम किया था मुसलमानों की समाजी माशी पसमानदगी को के मुताले के लिए इन सब के अलावा देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय डिफरेंट एकेडमिशियंस लाइक उमर खालिदी रोमिना रॉबिन्सन बहुत सारे नाम आपको मिलेंगे जिन्होंने बताया कि मुसलमान इकोनॉमिकली और सोशली कैसे पुअर हैं. It is evident that Muslim community needs and deserves a special and much focused strategy and effective plan for empowerment in social, economic, and educational front. It is a fact that any community needs capital and resource for its empowerment. Capital has different forms. From previous 3 decades, the concept of social capital is emerged and gained widespread acceptance across disciplines. Eminent academicians and scholars like Piero Bourdieu, Robert Putnam, James Coleman, Alessandro Portes, Francis Fukuyama, and many more have seriously engaged with the concept of social capital. There is much debate on the concept and definition of social capital. I'll discuss the few definitions of the social capital here.
Robert Putnam, United States, is one of the person in the America who जिन्होंने इस पूरी डिबेट को शुरू करने में और उसको आगे बनाने में अहम किरदार अदा किया। वो सोशल कैपिटल, समाजी सरमाया की तारीफ इस तरह बयान करते हैं कि फीचर्स ऑफ सोशल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन such as networks, norms, and social trust that facilitate cooperation and coordination for mutual benefit. James Coleman writes that social capital is defined by its function. It is not a single entity, but a variety of different entities having two characteristics in common. They all consist of some aspect of social structure, and they facilitate certain action of individuals who are within the structure. According to Alessandro Portes, social capital is the ability of actors to secure benefits by virtue of membership in social networks or other social structures. Francis Fukuyama defined it as the ability of people to work together for common purposes in groups and organizations. So we can see that different authors have tried to give different definitions. Some are quite complex. Piero Bourdieu ने पूरी एक पैराग्राफ पर मुश्तमिल अपनी डेफिनेशन को पेश किया है सोशल कैपिटल की. The difference of this definition is not the level of complexity or easiness, but the difference of understanding of the concept. So by examining these definitions, it is clear that social capital is a kind of resource which an individual possesses by virtue of relationship with wider social structure and network. In society, people make relationship with one another, and this forms a network. This network itself becomes a source for multiple benefits for the individual. So there is much debate around the concept of social capital. इसे कैपिटल भी कहा जाना चाहिए या नहीं? अगर इसे कैपिटल कहा जाए तो इसकी पैमाइश कैसे की जा सकती है? और इन सारी बातों के ऊपर स्कॉलर्स ने काफी काफी लिखा है. But more or less, the notion of social capital is widely endorsed, acknowledged, and used not only by sociologists, by political scientists, and other scholars of and the scholars of other disciplines. कई लोगों ने ये बात भी कही कि सोशल कैपिटल के तस्वुर में जो मानी पिन्हा है वो समाजियात में नए नहीं है, बल्कि आप देखेंगे कि दरखायम का जो कंसेप्ट था सोशल सॉलिडारिटी का, मास का जो कंसेप्ट था क्लास इन इटसेल्फ से क्लास फॉर इटसेल्फ के सफर का, एंड और इस तरह के कई तस्वुरात. तो अर्ली सोशोलॉजिस्ट हैव आल्सो हाइलाइटेड द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ ग्रुप लाइफ. But it may be noted that social capital is a concept that may sharpen our understanding of social networks, relationship, and its potential. It can be considered as a conceptual tool and refined way of looking the relationship aspect of social structure as a source and strength. Number of research work has been produced depicting the positive outcome of social capital. Brief बहुत सारे आपको इसके ऊपर काम मिलेगा दुनिया भर में. अगर उनके मुज़मरात को सोशल कैपिटल के मुज़मरात को समराइज किया जाए तो ये बात कही जा सकती है कि इट हेल्प्स इन करियर सक्सेस, टू फाइंड जॉब्स, टू फैसिलिटेट इंटर यूनिट एक्सचेंज. इट प्रमोट्स इंटेलेक्चुअल कैपिटल, ट्रांजैक्शन कॉस्ट को कम करता है. ये स्टार्टअप फॉर्मेशन, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के आगाज के लिए एक मुफीद पहलू फराहम करता है. स्कॉलर्स ने 3 तरह की किस्में सोशल कैपिटल की बयान की है: बॉन्डिंग, ब्रिजिंग और लिंकिंग. जब एक इंसान ऐसे लोगों से अपना ताल्लुक कायम करे जिनके साथ काफ़ी यकसानियत पाई जाए और जिनसे काफ़ी क़ुर्बत हो, उसे बॉन्डिंग सोशल कैपिटल क्या कहा जाएगा. जैसे कि हम असर दोस्तों के साथ या फिर फैमिली के लोगों के साथ. ब्रिजिंग सोशल कैपिटल उन लोगों के साथ फॉर्म होता है जब आप किसी ऐसे लोगों से अपने ताल्लुक को इस्तवार करें जिनके साथ कई सारी चीज़ें यकसा ना पाई जाए, लेकिन मकासद और अहदाफ की यकसानियत आपको उनके साथ जुड़ने पर मजबूर करती हैं या उसके लिए राह हमवार करती हैं. और लिंकिंग सोशल कैपिटल समाजी सरमाया की वो किस्म है जब वो आप अथॉरिटी और पावर के मामले में एक एक यकसा मियार पर ना हो, लेकिन अपने अपने अहदाफ को हासिल करने के लिए आप उनसे रवाबित इस्तवार करते हैं. मिसाल के तौर पे गरीब अफराद जब हुकूमती अहदेदारान से अपने चंद मुतालबात को मनवाने के लिए ताल्लुक को कायम करते हैं. So, bonding, bridging, and linking are 3 different types of social capital. In order to generate more potential social capital, one needs to not only have bonding social capital, but bridge and link with others with whom an individual does not share bondage. These typologies are a useful framework for understanding different aspects of social capital. The question is, if social capital is a capital, where does it resides or where does it comes from? As discussed above, social capital resides in social structure, and there are certain aspects which facilitates its function. In different countries, scholars have argued that faith or religious belief can be a potential source of social capital. Robert Forbeck, Guy Wilkinson, and their group have done a research project, and they tried to explore the relationship between faith and community and the understanding that derived from the affiliation with faith. वही बात लिखते हैं कि the scale and range of social engagement broadly defined by faith groups and organizations are substantial and often unrecognized. Christopher Becker or Greg Smith used the term religious and spiritual capital and discussed its dynamic aspects. In their research, they concluded that the concept of religious capital and spiritual capital is useful. The places of worship of religions are important centers for connection, socialization, community service, etc. The relationship between social responsibility and faith is widely endorsed. Faith makes an impact in wider community. यूनाइटेड किंगडम के मैनचेस्टर में विलियम टेम्पल फाउंडेशन ने एक 3 साल रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट कंडक्ट किया. उसकी फाइंडिंग्स के तौर पर रिपोर्ट में ये बात कही गई कि स्पिरिचुअल एंड रिलीजियस कैपिटल says that faith is an inescapable component of political and community life, and that it is time to engage with it seriously rather than trying to make it fit into pre-existing categories. According to them, the concept of spiritual religious capital complements the concept of social capital. Spiritual capital provides theological identity, value and belief systems, which basically motivates faith-based groups to engage with public domain. Ying Swan Huang did their research work in Britain, and he tried to identify the role of religious involvement in identity bridging social capital in Britain. He observed that religious participation is one of the most prominent source of social capital. It serves as incubator for institutionalized norms and values of reciprocity. It also serves as incubator for formal and informal social networks. General conclusion of his study is that people having higher religious participation are likely to have close friendship contact with other co-religionists. क्रिस्टोफर कैंडलैंड ने 4 जुनूबी एशिया ममालिक की मजहबी तंजीमों की स्टडी की. नहदतुल उलमा इंडोनेशिया, जमात इस्लामी पाकिस्तान, लंका जाति सर्वोदय श्रमदान संघ माया श्रीलंका और शांति अशोक थाईलैंड. ऑथर ने बात लिखी कि faith can be a form of social capital. People do not have face-to-face contact, but common faith allows them to trust one another. All the 4 organizations discussed in his article have religious faith, a religious base, and work in education, health, and employment generation at different scales. The author concludes that in a society, if the state is not adhering to civic religion, the faith-based organization can contribute to developing social capital, which ultimately helps in community development. कॉर्विन स्मिथ ने एक पूरी बुक को एडिट किया है यूनाइटेड स्टेट पर मबनी अपनी तहकीक में, अपने अलग अलग लोगों की तहकीक में. कॉर्विन स्मिथ ये बात कहते हैं कि religion is not one among the many forms of association, but it has distinctive features. I'll just conclude in 1 minute. It is because religion is most common forms of association and congregational life. It provides important service and resource to their members. So, as conclusion, my argument is that there is a religious affiliation, interpretation, and relevance of faith in case of Muslim community deserves special attention. Many organizations, small and large groups, work for the agenda of community empowerment. Out of them, there are large number of organizations who work for the empowerment on religious lines. Though formed on the basis of religion, the area of work of these organizations is not only restricted to religious domain, but as vast as covering different aspects of community empowerment. It becomes important to study and analyze these efforts on the foundation of faith. This demands intensive research on the idea of faith among Indian Muslims and how the understanding of faith is facilitating empowerment process in case of Indian Muslims. Thank you.
Thank you, Moshikin Faruqi. Our next speaker is Muhammad E.K. and okay. Dr. Ezesham Akhtar is speaking on role of digital technology and their effect on higher education. I study of UG and PG students in Hyderabad. He is a faculty in Department of Sociology. On our National University. Please, sir.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू. ये एक स्टडी है जो प्राइमरी डेटा पे बेस्ड है। बेसिकली मुझे डाटा प्रेजेंट करना आपके सामने, और इसमें इसका मकसद यही है कि इसमें हमने देखा है कि आज के जो नौजवान हैं, खास के यूजी और पीजी के स्टूडेंट हैं, जिन पे कौम की फ्यूचर मुनहसर करती है, और कहा जाता है कि किसी कौम का फ्यूचर देखना है तो उसके नौजवानों को देखो, उसके नौजवान कहाँ जा रहे हैं। अगर नौजवानों की सलाहियत पढ़ने में लग रही है, अच्छे कामों में लग रही है, क्रिएटिविटी में लग रही है, तो इससे ये समझना चाहिए कि उस कौम का फ्यूचर अच्छा है। अगर नौजवानों की सलाहियत अगर पढ़ने में नहीं है, दूसरी चीजों में नहीं है, तो जिधर को सलाहियत जा रही है उधर को ही वो आगे बढ़ेगा। लिहाजा इसी को मद्देनजर रखते हुए ये स्टडी जो है कंडक्ट की गई है कि ये स्टूडेंट जो है ज्यादातर वक्त अपना किसमें लगाते हैं। और जैसे आजकल सोशल नेटवर्किंग का जमाना है, बहुत सारे साइट्स हैं, और स्टूडेंट जो है बहुत ज्यादा एक्टिव हैं। तो क्या हमने देखने की कोशिश की है इसमें कि किस क्लास के तालिब इल्म किस साइट्स पे ज़्यादा एक्टिव हैं। दूसरा, कि किस एज ग्रुप के लोग नेटवर्किंग साइट पर कितना एक्टिव है, इसके डिफरेंट लेवल्स बनाए हमने, उस पर देखा है। तीसरी, हमने ये देखा कि गर्ल्स स्टूडेंट, मेल स्टूडेंट, गर्ल्स कितना कौन सी साइट्स पर एक्टिव हैं, क्या देखती हैं। उसी तरह जो मेल स्टूडेंट हैं वो किस पे कितना एक्टिव है, क्या देखते हैं। उसी तरह सोशल नेटवर्किंग साइट्स के ऊपर कितना उनके फॉलोवर्स हैं। और तीसरी, वो कब से, नेक्स्ट जो है कब से एक्टिव है, कितने सालों से उस पर एक्टिव है सोशल नेटवर्किंग साइट पे। और उसके बाद में जो है कि वो रोजाना के एतबार से कितना वक्त इन साइट्स पर देखते हैं। तो इसी को मद्देनजर रखते हुए हमने कंक्लूजन भी ड्रा किया कि भाई क्लास के क्या हालात होंगे जब इधर कितना वक्त दे रहे हैं, क्लास में कितना दे रहे हैं। तो लिहाजा ये स्टडी भी जरूरी है। कल से मैंने यही सुना कि मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी कहाँ है, कहाँ जा रही है, और ये भी देखने की जरूरत है कि मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के नौजवान कहाँ जा रहे हैं, जो बहुत दूर से पढ़ने के लिए आए हैं, जिस पे कौम का फ्यूचर डिपेंड करता है। ये कल जाके कहीं का लीडर्स बनेंगे, किसी ऑफिस के बड़े बनेंगे, किसी घर का बड़ा बनेगा, तो ये कहाँ जा रहे हैं, इसकी सलाहियत कल को कहाँ लगेगी। और दूसरी चीज, जहाँ तक रिसर्च के ताल्लुक से मेरा अपना जाती ख्याल है कि आजकल, कल से लेके मैंने आज तक जितना सुना, ज्यादातर रिसर्च जो है आज के डेट में एसी में बैठ के हो रहा है। जो रिसर्चर हैं, फील्ड में जाना तो नहीं होता, सिर्फ एसी में बैठ के रिसर्च होता है, इसलिए बात की बहुत ज्यादा बराह के कही जा रही है। तो लिहाजा उससे तो हमारी स्टडी काफी डिफरेंट है, डाटा पे बेस्ड है, फील्ड में जाके है। और रिसर्च कल से सुनते हुए कंक्लूजन मैंने यही ड्रॉ किया कि बात ऐसे चल रही है जैसे कि कोई साहब किसी से आज से 50 साल, 10 साल पहले, जब ये जमाना नहीं था मोबाइल, तो किसी ने कहा कि जरा गांव जा रहे हो, जरा कह देना शहर के लोग थे कि उनकी तबीयत खराब है। तो दूसरे ने उसे बगल के पड़ोस के मिल गए, उनसे कहा कि उनसे कह देना कि तबीयत बहुत ज्यादा खराब है। फिर अब और आदमी मिला जो पड़ोस का था और जानने वाले, कि इतनी तबीयत खराब है कि शायद हॉस्पिटलाइज। लास्ट में जो गांव का घर का जाने वाला, तो उसने कहा कि तबीयत इतनी खराब है कि शायद उनका इंतकाल हो। तो आज के रिसर्च का यही हाल है कि बात तो इम्तियाज साहब ने उतनी बड़ी नहीं कही होगी, या अदर उतनी बड़ी नहीं कही, मेरी भी मौत आते ही नजर से। लेकिन बात के आज के डेट में उसी बात को इतनी खींची जाती है कि ये असर ये असर, उसको बढ़ा के कि रिसर्च की चाशनी खराब हो जाती है। और ये प्लेटफॉर्म तो ऐसा है, कुछ भी बोल के चले जाइए, उसे तैयार रहते हैं, और इसका कोई वेरिफिकेशन कुछ भी होता नहीं है। तो लिहाजा कभी कभी अफसोस भी होता है सुन के कि खराब भी होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए ऐसी प्लेटफॉर्म, जो आज के डेट में जो बदलती हुई दुनिया की तस्वीर सेमिनार की भी ये भी है। बहरहाल, सबसे पहले हम स्टार्ट करते हैं कि हम सोशल साइंस के लोग हैं, बीए के बच्चों को पढ़ाते हैं, एमए के बच्चों को पढ़ाते हैं। तो हम स्टार्ट करते हैं कि हमने ये देखा अपनी स्टडी के अंदर जो है, जो हमारे बीए के जो तालिब इल्म हैं, उसमें से जो हमने देखा कि 16 पॉइंट से 201 सैंपल साइज हमारा 201 में से हमने जो जो देखा बीए के बच्चों में से जो है कि 16.7% ऐसे तालिब इल्म हैं जो एजुकेशन से, सोचो, नेटवर्किंग साइट्स का इस्तेमाल है अपने स्टडी के लिए करते हैं, बहुत सारे गूगल्स में ढूंढते हैं, अपने एजुकेशन के लिए करते हैं। और इसी तरह जो है कि इसी में जो है कि 41% ऐसे तालिब इल्म हैं जो कि मूवी, सॉन्ग्स, रील्स, ये सब देखते हैं। अपने इतने परसेंट बच्चे वो हैं। और उसी तरह हमने बीएससी का लिया, एमए का लिया, एमए लिंग्विस्टिक अलग लिया, एमए सोशल साइंस अलग लिया, एमएससी का अलग लिया हमने, और एमसीए का अलग लिया हमने, बीएड का अलग लिया, डीएलएड का अलग लिया, और जितने भी जो कोर्सेज पॉलिटेक्निक वगैरह के सबको हमने अलग अलग लेके देखा कि कौन से तालिब इल्म जो है किस कोर्स पे ज़्यादा दे रहे हैं। तो ये बीए के बच्चे हैं। और जरा हम पॉलिटेक्निक पर भी गौर करें तो हम पॉलिटेक्निक में देखते हैं कि इनके बच्चे जो चाहे एज ग्रुप कम हो उसकी वजह से एजुकेशन के जो साइट्स है, एजुकेशन जो से रिलेटेड जो है वो जो है कि जो हमारे पास जो डाटा है वो एकदम नहीं देखते हैं। सबसे ज़्यादा वो देखते हैं जो है कि मूवी सॉन्ग्स रील्स ये ज़्यादा देखते हैं। और तीसरी जो है कि वो सबसे ज़्यादा जो देखते हैं कि डेली मैसेजेस वगैरह जो है रील्स भी वो सबसे ज़्यादा देखते हैं जो पॉलिटेक्निक के जो बच्चे हैं। जो प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज के जो बच्चे हैं उनका जो हमने जो देखा स्टडी के अंदर जो है कि वो ज़्यादातर वो जो है कि अपने जो है कि मतलब सलाहियत का इस्तेमाल, अपने साइट्स का इस्तेमाल जो है कि पढ़ाई की चीज़ों में ज़्यादा करते हैं, और जो है कि बाकी चीज़ों में जो है कि कम देते हैं इन कंपेरिजन टू जो नॉन प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज है। तो ओवरऑल हमारी स्टडी में देखा गया कि पूरे सारे तालिब इल्मों को अगर मिला दिया जाए तो 15.4% जो है एजुकेशन पर फोकस करते हैं, और 48.3% जो है वो जो है कि मूवी सॉन्ग्स तो करते हैं ओवरऑल पूरे, और 6% ऐसे हैं जो रिलीजियस चीज़ें देखते हैं। ओनली 6% ऐसे हैं। बाकी जो है कि मतलब सबसे ज़्यादा जो सलाहियत लगती है हमारे नौजवान की मूवी सॉन्ग्स रील्स देखने में लगती है। तो आप इससे अंदाज़ा लगा सकते हैं कि जब सलाहियत 15% एजुकेशन में देंगे सोशल नेटवर्किंग साइट पे, और 48.3% जब इन चीज़ों में देंगे, इन एक्टिविटी में देंगे, तो फिर बाकी चीज़ों में मतलब एजुकेशन का उनके क्या हाल होगा, क्या कल को इनको जॉब मिलेगी, क्या मार्केट इनके लिए खरीद तैयार बैठेगी है। तो इसलिए लिहाजा ये सजेशन भी है कि, और डाटा भी यही शो करा, सैंपल साइज बहुत छोटा भी नहीं है कि हम नहीं कह सकते कि वो है। लिहाजा जो है कि हमें तो फ्यूचर अच्छे नहीं है नजर आ रहा है देखने के बाद। तो लिहाजा जो है कि इसको जो है कि सोचने की जरूरत है, असातिज़ा को भी और तालिब इल्मों को भी गौर करने की जरूरत है। दूसरा हमने इसको बॉयज और गर्ल्स में देखा हमने, तो हमने देखा कि जो जो मेल स्टूडेंट है बॉयज हैं वो एजुकेशन में जो अपना जो तवज्जो देते हैं टोटल जो है 6.5% जो है एजुकेशन पे है, और 24.9% जो है रील्स में है, और बाकी भी और भी है उसके मैसेजेस हैं, नोट रिप्लाईज हैं। तो जो मेजर जो देख रहा हूँ एजुकेशन और बाकी जो इंटरटेनमेंट के जो साइट्स हैं, तो इसमें जो है कि 24% जो है इंटरटेनमेंट पे अपना फोकस करते हैं। उसी तरह गर्ल्स में हम देखते हैं कि 9% बॉयज के मुकाबले में लड़कियां जो है ज़्यादा एजुकेशन की साइड से देखती हैं और ज़्यादा फोकस करती हैं। कहीं ना कहीं जो रिजल्ट आते हैं 10th के 12th के और अदर रिजल्ट आते हैं, हम इनकी बुनियाद पे कर सकते हैं कि लड़कियां जो है लड़कों से ज्यादा जो है कहीं ना कहीं एजुकेशन में अपने आप को वक्त देती हैं, उससे ज्यादा जो है पढ़ती हैं। तो लिहाजा लड़कियों के परफॉर्मेंस एजुकेशन में ज्यादा अच्छे हैं इन कंपेरिजन टू बॉयज के। तो मेरा भी डाटा यही करता है, आए दिन हम कोई रिजल्ट आता है कुछ आता है वो देखते हैं, खास के 10th 12th के रिजल्ट, तो उससे भी हमारी वो होती है। तीसरी चीज कि इंटरटेनमेंट का जो है लड़के जो है कि ज्यादा देखते हैं, 25% देखते हैं, लड़कियां जो है 23% इंटरटेनमेंट की साइड्स पे एक्टिव है। तो कहीं ना कहीं लड़के उधर ज्यादा वक्त दे रहे हैं उधर अपना, इसी वजह से उनकी पढ़ाई की जो परसेंटेज है एजुकेशन के देखने की वो कम है लड़कियों के मुकाबले में। तीसरी चीज जो हम देखते हैं, जहाँ रिलीजन ऐसी एक चीज है कि हम उसको छोड़ नहीं सकते, और सोसाइटी का नेचर भी रिलीजियस है, तो इसलिए जो है कि सोसाइटी में रिलीजन जो है मेजर रोल प्ले करता है। तो हम देखते हैं कि इसमें कि बॉयज जो है 1.5% जो है जो सिर्फ और सिर्फ रिलीजन की साइट्स देखते हैं या रिलीजन के रिलेटेड जो है मवाद जो है मैं वो देखते हैं 1.5%। इसी के मुकाबले में जो है कि लड़कियां जो है 4.5% जो है वो जो है कि रिलीजियस साइट्स देखती हैं, रिलीजन से मुतालिक जो रील्स है वो सारी चीजें लड़कियां देखती हैं। तो हम यहाँ पर जो देखते हैं जो अच्छी चीजें हैं जिसे करना चाहिए देखना चाहिए, तो लड़कों के मुकाबले में लड़कियां ज्यादा हैं, अच्छा देख रही हैं, जैसे कि पढ़ाई में 9% है, और उसी तरह जो रिलीजन में भी जो है कि 4.5% है। तो कहीं ना कहीं दोनों जगह हम देखते हैं कि इनका जो है अच्छा है, एक तरह के परफॉर्मेंस अच्छा है इनका जो है। इसलिए हम कह सकते हैं इस बुनियाद पर कि आने वाले वक्तों में लड़कियां लड़कों के मुकाबले में अच्छा कारकर्दगी करेगी और समाज में शायद इनकी अच्छी खिदमत होगी ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ माई डाटा, अवेलेबल डाटा जो है। और उसके बाद में जब हम एज ग्रुप की बात करते हैं तो हमने इसको डिफरेंट लेवल बनाए हैं, 15 से 20, 21 से 26, इस तरह से हम करके बनाए हैं। तो जब हम 21 से 26 एज ग्रुप जो है, जिसमें हर चीज डेवलप करती है, सोचने समझने की सलाहियत डेवलप करती है, बहुत ही क्रिएटिव माइंड्स होता है, बहुत कुछ मतलब करते हैं। और इस एज ग्रुप की सबको जरूरत होती है, चाहे किसी कंपनी को मुल्क की हिफाजत के लिए फौज की, और किसी भी कंपनी अच्छी से रन करने के लिए इस एज ग्रुप की जरूरत होती है। समाज में इस एज ग्रुप की काफी जरूरत भी है, हर हर चीज में, किसी भी फैक्ट्री में, बिजनेस में, कहीं भी देख ले, इस एज ग्रुप की डिमांड होती है। तो हम इस एज ग्रुप में देखते हैं कि 16% जो है एजुकेशन पर फोकस करते हैं, और जो है कि 42% जो है वो जो है इंटरटेनमेंट के साइट्स पर फोकस करते हैं, और जिसमें यूट्यूब भी है, बाकी चीज़ों पर जो है वो इतना वो फोकस करते हैं इस एज ग्रुप पर जो है। तो हमने जितने भी एज ग्रुप बनाए हैं इसमें, उसमें सबसे ज्यादा जो है यही एज ग्रुप एक ऐसा है जो इंटरटेनमेंट के साइट्स पे सबसे ज्यादा एक्टिव 21 से 26 साल के बच्चे। और यही एक उम्र होता है अपने आप को बनाने का भी और बिगाड़ने का भी। और इस उम्र में जिसने संभाल लिया वो संभल गया, जिसने नहीं संभाला वो गया। और जिसने पढ़ाई पर फोकस कर लिया वो तो कामयाबी की दहलीज पे चढ़ जाएगा। जिसने इसमें ज्यादा इंटरटेनमेंट पे लगा लिया, नहीं संभाला, तो वो फिसलता चला जाता है, जिंदगी में पीछे होते चला जाता है। तो हम कहीं ना कहीं देखेंगे कि ये जो एज ग्रुप है, तो यही तो कि जो सक्सेस का जो रेट अगर हम निकालें यहाँ से, हम देखेंगे कि बहुत कम सक्सेस होकर जाते हैं। इसलिए हम जब ये NRF का डाटा वगैरह में आ जाता है वहाँ पे हम देखते हैं कि कितने हमारे बच्चे सक्सेस, क्या रेशियो हमारे बच्चे को एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिलने का, कितने सक्सेस हो रहे हैं। तो यहाँ कहीं ना कहीं हमें वो भी दिखता है कि ये जो है, जो 9% का जो डाटा है कि 9% जो एजुकेशन को फोकस करते हैं, तो शायद NRF का डाटा भी देख ले तो हमारा रेशियो भी वही है सक्सेस होने का, एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिलने का। और बाकी जो नहीं मिल पाते, घर को वापस चले जाते, नहीं सक्सेस हो पाते अपने एम में, तो वो उसका परसेंटेज जो है 48% है ये। तो इस तरह से हम कहते हैं कि ये फेल्योर है। तो वक्त की कमी की होने से चंद चीजों को मैं ना वो अभी तो बहुत सारे हैं कि कितना वो है, का नाम है, फॉलोवर्स हैं, कितना एक्टिव है, वो सब भी हमें बताना था। बहरहाल, तो ये जो रहने का यह है कि सक्सेस का जो रेट है, जो सक्सेस की जो बुनियाद है आज के डेट में, तो वो मेहनत पे सब कुछ डिपेंड करता है। और यही उम्र है, यही एज ग्रुप है जिसपे मेहनत की जाए तो आगे बढ़ जाता है, मेहनत नहीं की जाए तो फिसल जाता है। और एक ऐसा ये फिसलन है कि कभी उसकी भरपाई नहीं हो सकती, कभी दोबारा आ नहीं सकता वो जो है। तो इसलिए जो है कि इसको जो है वक्त को सही इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए। डाटा हमारा ये भी शो करता है कि जिस तरह से सक्सेस का जो रेट है वो भी यही है। वजह क्या है कि उन चीजों पर जो थे गैर जरूरी कामों पे, गैर जरूरी साइट्स पे वक्त देने की वजह से जो सक्सेस रेट हमारा कम है। अगर हम जिस पर वक्त देना चाहिए, अगर हम उस पर वक्त दें जहाँ से नॉलेज गेन होती है, सब कुछ सीखने को मिलता है, कुछ अपना फायदा होता है, अगर हम उन चीजों पर वक्त दें तो शायद तरक्की हमारे कदम चूमेगी। तो फिर जो है कि अल्लामा इकबाल का वो एक शेर आता है कि खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से पूछे कि बोल तेरी रजा क्या है। अगर आपने पढ़ाई को वक्त दिया, अपने आप को मजबूत कर लिया है, तो आपको पूछा जाए कि बता कौन सी नौकरी चाहिए, जिधर फॉर्म भरेंगे उधर आपको कामयाबी मिलेगी। अगर नहीं इन चीजों पर है, एक तरह का हमने देखा अपने स्टडी, ये एडिक्शन है एक तरह का, जो लोग एडिक्ट हुए पड़े हैं। अगर कहीं महफिल में भी बैठे हैं तो थोड़ी की देर बाद मोबाइल निकाल के देखना शुरू कर दिए, तो एंटरटेन बात हो रहा है तो वहां भी निकाल के छोड़ शुरू कर दिए। तो कहीं ना कहीं एक एडिक्शन है जिसका समाज और सोसाइटी को नुकसान। ठीक है सर।
So at the outside, I am very thankful to the organizer, Institute of Sociology, for inviting me for project title. It is a it's very important seminar. Uh, Particularly, it is in commemorating the scholarship of Professor India Ramat. I am also one of the I'm also benefited when it was when I after association. When I was doing a PhD, I visited GNU. I went to him to get information and group of information. The group was not there with anyone. With whomever I wanted to meet Professor Vijayanama. He immediately gave me a copy. Not only that, he was saying, she was at the time he had invited me. I offered me breakfast, then he gave me the book. And when I came with that book here in Hyderabad, I'm the only person having that book, that report. So I became a sort of the person after that because here some reservation debate and all going on. So then next time I also attended a lecture meeting. When I went to Jamia for interview, again he was there in the board. I have by that time I have developed an booklet on a baseline research of Anandapur Muslims. He got a book and he said, give that book. I have given that book to him and I thought I will get selected. Of course, that happened, but it was so interested on that thing. Muslim issues and all that. So whatever he wanted, he said, I want to teach that book. So he was such a great person. I'm very happy that he is born and conducting a seminar on this. And this particular session also, again, we can say that it will be the same kind of thing. We have a wide range of presentation from digital influence, from culture, from religion, from Darga to student, to again impact of digitalization on education. Various important topics are there. Most of them, three, four of them are from Kerala. I think a lot of work is being done by Kerala because many people are coming from Kerala. It's happening in our university. Most of the people will do research on foods. Maybe they because of the comfortable zone and all, but I implore on researcher to explore other areas, less research areas. In our university, most of the people coming from say Kashmir and most of them come from foods. So it has become a very highly particular research area. Similarly, I think Malba and Kerala, Muslims, also a lot of places there. You can do comparative when you are here in Hyderabad Central City. If you can take up this thing, Darga culture in Kerala, Darga culture in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. So this will also help in enriching the research and also expanding the horizon of the research. So these are some of the observations I want to share with you. And coming to the digitalization, we are seeing, see, the content, there is the issue with the content and also the control region and also the kind of use and misuse of this digitalization. We are all observing, and particularly this technology has transformed the world. We have seen technology is the reason for the modern age, isn't it? Renaissance. In Renaissance, what we have done is new invention of new technology, and with that we have transformed the world. But unfortunately, now we have come to a stage where we're using the technology for going back and back in the sense traditional and also in a negative conditions where we are finding again our own kind of a divide and all, particularly hate. So hate is spreading, and how much hate this society can tolerate. So there should be some hate rate measure, I think, in this. And the digitalization is hugely complementing and spreading this hate, and this actually is a major issue now. This is dividing societies, creating the barriers among the people, and there is no counter effect. Earlier, there used to be many stories, then there were not good stories, but now, because of the Western interest and because of politics and many things, this media and digitalization is going into one way. So this is a concern for the researchers, and we have to find out ways. And as the last presentation, he said that there is a use of media and there are a lot of misuse in the sense people are using it for wrong. But here at the previous, we can, because a lot of information is there on the net, so we can direct our students, we can tell them, we can guide them, we can give them. So these are the use them as an exercise to divert them to this. See, we all know most of the time we say read this book, read this paper. All these books and papers are now available on the net. So we can do with the students so that we can divert them to the right use of the technology. So it is very human to get attracted toward the bad thing. It is we as a teachers we have to divert them to the good thing. We all know. So for earlier was that see for good thing, bad thing is having its own attraction. For good thing, we have to put efforts, isn't it? A milkman goes to home to deliver, and for taking liquor, people go to the shop. So it has owners. So we have to sell these things, sell the good thing, and we have to market it, even if it is necessary, use the digitalization. I think that is where we can drive these things to right kind of research, right kind of use of digital technology, and right kind of social relations will also emerge. And towards that end, is research can also play a role. It is remarks. I will open the house for your comments, also questions, brief questions to target questions to the paper presenters. Maybe next 5 minutes we will take for the questions and answer session. Then we'll come to the session. Thank you.
So my question is that was discussing about culinary system in Malabar. So we was discussing about culinary system about Muslims of Malabar, but Malabar community is not a homogeneous community. It's heterogeneous actually. Like 40% of Malabar region is Muslims, others are non-Muslims, but there's a syncretic culture as well. So how can we say that Muslims only eat beef and other meat and all? Because in Kerala, people irrespective of religion, they use non-veg items. So how can we claim like that? Okay.
Religious uh, religious factor also influence Muslim community. I know heterogeneous communities in Malabar area, but moreover the Muslim traditions like Muslim interactions like Eid, Ramadan systems, and other various forms. And the Arab, the major people of male community of Malabar region is abroad. So the influence of the Arabic culture is more due to that, and there is uh,
Yeah.
Festivals there.
Overeating is not Arabic culture. We all know we are fasting. So it is because of wealth. Because wealth has created this culture. So, and all, if you go by the religious teaching and tradition, they are being stressed on keeping yourself not on eating, but not abstaining of eating. Not only in Islamic culture, you take our own Indian culture also. Eating has not been glorified, like kind of thing. Okay. So it has not come because of our Islamic influence. It has come because of the wealth and you know, even it is very abundance of other than food. That is happened. Next.
So my question is to Ehtisham Akhtar Saab. So you are making distinctions between the professional courses and unprofessional courses. You use that word. किस तरीके के प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज में they're using social media and Google for the like अपने मतलब के लिए यूज मतलब आज सही तरीके से वो यूज कर रहे हैं उसको आपने बोला कि जो प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज के बच्चे हैं वो उसका सही यूज कर रहे हैं अनप्रोफेशनल अनप्रोफेशनल ही यूज दैट वर्ड चलो ठीक है बोला तो मैं ये मतलब सजेशन है मेरा ये कि प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज किसको बोल रहे हो अनप्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज किसको बोल रहे हो तो इस तरीके के वर्ड यूज करने में भी हम टू बी वेरी केयरफुल दिस इज अ सजेशन
और कोई सवाल है तो अभी we'll take together then यहाँ पे देखिए सर देखिए एक बात तो याद रही इवन हिंदू कल्चर में भी लंच का नाम लेती है वो नाम कहते हैं देखिए आपके टाइम पे भी आप कभी भी जब हम क्या कहते हैं अर्थ से बताते हैं तो रिलीजन से जोड़ देते हैं अर्थ से क्वेश्चन आया तो हम कहते हैं इस्लाम रिलीजियस नॉट नेसेसरीली ऑल द टाइम so even Islamic religion even the Hindu religious culture tradition also say things and that is overrating is not available. So if we are blaming hypertension or diabetes, all things happening because of the abundance of food, abundance of money, and also the food globalization of things. Everyone want to sell, so there's a lot of options to eat. That is one thing. Okay. Question. The speaker has presented that use of technology and utilization help sufficient to increase to expand something good. So, some anyone speaker from this panel? Yeah. You are talking about Dargah and Kusalam, no? Abdul Salam PP. You know, Sufism across the world has expanded due to teaching attachment and the way it being spread. Not any technology or any, because if I add something, there's no technology. Now, those people who are lacking and who love the Sufism, they start to follow Sufism as per their choice. So, what would be your opinions on that? और कुछ सवाल है yes I continue with Ahmad Reza sir Abdul Salam so use deities Dargah deities it's a very blasphemous like using deities in Islam Islam is very uniformity of God one God single God so I think you rectify this other one, digital connection to the proliferation or liberation of the religion, proliferation of religion. I see in that context, in India, I mean, Sufism order, all about non-material connection between peoples and the natures. So, in that context, the digitalization of Dargah, reaching to Dargah next level. In Hinduism also reaching online to Shivdi, Sai Baba Darshan and Tirupati, like that is very much against the anti-Sufi or practices. This was for Abdul Salam. One other, Muhammad Ike. Muhammad Ike has given wonderful presentation about technology, effects of this religion, religiosity. There is I've gone through a research, a few research, very much statics. If you globally see the world, more than 84% people are religious. Religious. In South India context, okay, sir. 87% in there, 87% are religiosity. So there is a difference between religion and religiosity. Religion is about the belief in God. Religiosity is the practice, the perceived belief of your and practicing. In that context, we see in the world around the conflicting situation within society, community, or culture in between. So, how you see technology giving religion a tool for peace or tool for devastation? Thank you.
This is the this is the last question.
Sure.
We will have other queries and all in the lunchtime. You all meet. We can discuss.
Thank you, sir.
Next presentation is going to
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन चांसर से है
शार्ट से बोलिए।
सर आपने आके आपके डेटा शो किया कि जो लड़की को इंटरनेट का किस तरह से यूज कर रहे हैं इसमें जो है वो पढ़ाई के लिए ज़्यादा यूज कर रही है। मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है सर कि क्या आपको कुछ भी लगे ज़्यादा है तो क्या ये डेटा आपसे मतलब किस तरह से ज़्यादा है किस आपके लिए मतलब डेटा जो है मौलाना आजम यूनिवर्सिटी की होती है आपने कहाँ से आपने याद
ओहो ठीक है उनको जवाब है ठीक है
तो आप कहाँ से हमारी मार्क स्टूडेंट्स
उन्होंने नंबर बताए कि ज्यादा है ठीक है आपका क्वेश्चन कर दीजिए आप सब पहले एहतशाम देन के मोहम्मद
सुनने का
नहीं आप उसका जवाब दीजिए तो कैसे सवाल करना मत बताइए नहीं ऐसा नहीं है